Hello and welcome to WGTC Radio, the official podcast of entertainment website We Got This Covered. I'm Jonathan Lack.
And I'm Sean Chapman.
And we are here to talk about, for the last time for a couple months, sadly, Doctor Who.
Doctor Who!
Yes, we are here to talk about Doctor Who, as you know, one of our favorite TV shows.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about every episode of Series 7 so far. Even when, it's on, when it's off for months in the middle of the season, whatever. We're talking about Series 7, and yesterday, The Name of the Doctor, the series finale, aired, and we've got a lot to talk about with that, and we're going to do, as usual, when a Doctor Who season ends, a season overview, so we'll talk about the whole season as a whole.
A retrospective, as you might call it.
Yes. And basically, we are doing at least two podcasts this week. You might hear more depending on just how much comes out of the Xbox conference.
Yeah.
But basically, today, Sunday, May 19th?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, Sunday, we are talking about Doctor Who. This is an all Doctor Who episode, so if you don't listen to our Doctor Who discussions normally, turn it off, come back tomorrow. Monday will probably be when we post our next podcast, which is when we will talk about Star Trek Into Darkness, our full, spoiler breakdown of that movie, as we do for a lot of the big summer releases. And basically, we could have done these both in one podcast, but that would have been a really long podcast. Yeah. And, we assume there's some overlap between people who like Star Trek and people like Doctor Who, but, it's very clear delineation now. You can listen to one or the other or both. So, there you go. Come out on separate days. So, there you go. But today, we are focusing entirely on Doctor Who. It's our big Series 7 celebration.
Sure. We can call it that.
All right.
We can call it a celebration if we want.
Are we celebrating that it's over?
I don't know. I don't know what we're celebrating. Celebrating that we can get a different season that hopefully is out of the bullshit.
Well, you should note, BBC did just announce today they have officially ordered Series 8. Stephen Moffat officially returning, Matt Smith officially returning, so, gang's back. Maybe they can do better work next year. I still like Doctor Who. I still think life is better when Doctor Who is on, even when sometimes Doctor Who can have alien babies nursing at Diana Rigg's breast.
Yeah. Yeah. God, that episode was dumb. But we're not here to talk about the Crimson Horror.
No, we are here to talk about, I think we can both agree, a much better episode.
Yes. Yes. Doesn't take much, but yes.
I know you had some problems with this episode, but,
this is a good episode, but I'm probably going to get angry in this.
Okay.
There's some of the stuff this episode does I really dislike. But.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the episode then. This is The Name of the Doctor, episode 14 of Series 7, and basically, a lot of big stuff goes down in this episode. We find out what Trenzalore is, we see the Doctor's time stream, we get the answer to the mystery of Clara, the Impossible Girl, and we meet the missing Doctor, played by John Hurt.
Yeah.
Or something. We're not sure
whatever the fuck he is.
So, big cliffhanger.
Speculation on that later.
Big cliffhanger. Is this, by the way, the first cliffhanger for the end of a season Modern Who has done?
I think so, yeah. I can think of anything
because Series
else.
1 ends with the regeneration, which is... Yeah. It's a little bit like there's more to come, but it's not a cliffhanger.
Yeah. I guess in a sense the Russell T. Davies did the thing where he would sort of tease the beginning of whatever the Christmas special would be.
That's true.
But I don't even count it as cliffhanger because it's just because the plot was fully resolved of the episode, and then all of a sudden Donna Noble is in the TARDIS in a wedding dress, and you're just like, what?
Or the Titanic is crashing through the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Space Titanic.
So, if you want to call those cliffhangers, they were really clumsy cliffhangers.
Yeah, this was, at the very least, this was a cliffhanger completely organic to the story of the episode.
This was a fucking cliffhanger in the sense that, this episode did not end. Really, it was just this is, come back for the 50th year anniversary, motherfuckers.
Yeah, so, boy, we have a long time to wait.
Yeah.
It makes me sad, because I like Doctor Who, and overall impressions of this episode, I really, really liked The Name of the Doctor. I know I liked it a lot more than Sean did. I kind of went in I just wanted to see a good episode. I felt I got that, and I felt I got some really interesting, as you said, this episode does not end, but I like the directions it moves in. It is much more of a prelude to things to come than a finale, because this season, while they did some dumb arc hints like the Doctor Who stuff, overall this was not a season with an overarching story, and the story that there was about, Clara and the mystery of her, and that was solved, and there is resolution on that. And, I really liked this episode. I thought it had more than any other episode this season to me, a tremendous sense of atmosphere, production values. This and Nightmare in Silver just were kind of a new high bar to me for just how evocative Doctor Who can use settings in recent years, and I really liked just about not everything in this episode. I definitely have problems. I think there's some stuff with the antagonist that's wonky, crazy hallucinogenic dreams. We'll get into that. But on the whole, I liked this. I liked where they took the characters, and I think some of the performances, especially by Matt Smith, are absolutely incredible. So I really liked this one.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I definitely completely agree that the production values and the way the episode looked and the atmosphere and the acting was all really great. Like, I don't have those were all completely top notch, fucking phenomenal for an episode of Doctor Who. But for me, my main problems with the episode is sort of a lot of the villain stuff. They have not managed to make me particularly care about Clara. So the resolution to that plotline does not feel earned to me in any way, and I thought a lot of just sort of the plot stuff was clunky. It was, at the very least, it wasn't like Wedding of River Song, where it was just that episode is a complete fucking mess. This episode is straightforward, incredibly focused. It doesn't, but part of that is that it doesn't resolve anything other than the Clara stuff.
Well, so, I do think while they don't reference the silence, we now clearly know why they didn't want the Doctor to get to Trenzalore.
I guess. I mean,
it fills in gaps to me.
But it does. But the episode does, but it's the episode doesn't do anything with that. Sure, it fills in gaps, but you have to go in and fill the gaps yourself. The episode does not consider that or talk about that in any way, and I don't feel like that's what they're going to do in the 50th anniversary. I don't feel like they're going to bring up the silence or anything.
Well, I don't need them to, and honestly, when I rewatched The Wedding of River Song the other night, it became pretty clear to me that they were done with the silence there.
And that's so frustrating because we're not... That was such a waste of the silence. They built them up and they were so interesting, and then it's just we didn't do anything with it. It's kind of everything from Series 6. Yeah, it's there was some interesting setup, and this kind of just goes nowhere.
Well, and it's basically just, the silence being that basically how the progression goes. I kind of looked at it last night in terms of where we're seeing here. It was just, they were much simpler villains than I think we expected them to be by the way
they were built up in fucking Season 5 of The Silence Will Fall.
I know, and it's basically, now looking at it in totality, what I would say about the silence, and this is disappointing that they did not use them more, but it's basically Impossible Astronaut, Day of the Moon. They were planning to create River Song and kill the Doctor. Then the Doctor eradicated them. Then they come back in Wedding of River Song because we're in an alternate timeline, blah, blah, blah. They give an explanation about that's how they're back. And they managed to kill the Doctor, they think, and they want the Doctor dead because if he dies at this point in his timeline, then he can't reach Trenzalore and bad shit will happen. Although there's plot holes with that we'll talk about later.
Doctor Who time travel.
Well, it's an issue for me that if the silence are aware that what's waiting at Trenzalore is this very dangerous time stream that someone could enter and fuck shit up with, wouldn't they know that they would just create it themselves if they killed the Doctor? And then wouldn't they also know that if the Doctor did not die and create a time stream like that they had failed? Wouldn't they be like, oh, fuck, he must be a Tessellect?
Yeah, well, Doctor Who time... this is one of my problems with a lot of Stephen Moffat, and it is a problem in this episode as well. Not as big as it sometimes is, but Doctor Who is traditionally, in the scope of Doctor Who is not a time travel show, in the sense that you use time travel to get to a place, but that is all you use time travel for, and it is not, the show is not about fucking with your own time stream, and this, there is no fate but what we make for ourselves kind of bullshit. That is not, Doctor Who has never concerned itself with that before the revived series, and then now, and even within the revived series, it's only particularly the Stephen Moffat type stuff that tries to get into that, which is frustrating because time travel doesn't make sense ever. You cannot make a time travel story that really makes sense because time travel's not possible. Time travel doesn't make sense, and so that's the silence's plan does not make sense. But most of this kind of stuff doesn't.
Yeah. So in any case, where do we want to start with this episode?
I want to start with just the name of the episode,
the name of the Doctor,
and
I think that's a good point
because that does need to be addressed. I think it was obvious that this episode was not going to say his name, or even, I guess it wasn't entirely obvious. It was still possible, but this episode did not make his name literally an important thing. His name is a thing in the episode, and the aspect of his name being a thing in the episode doesn't even make sense to me. But we were building up since the end of season 6, this whole the question that must never be answered Doctor Who thing.
It's something where we need to talk about. I think we'll get to this in the second half of this podcast when we talk about the season as a whole more.
Yeah.
But this season, I don't like the way it built things. And it basically, what it was seeding was a revelation of the name as something important. And what this episode does is exactly what I feel is important about the Doctor is not, whatever his birth name was, but the identity he chooses for self and the code he strives to live by. And that's what this episode stresses in the end. And I think that is very interesting thematic territory to explore, and I was happy with those scenes. And I think if they had built to that, instead of building to something much more literal and much less satisfying as the episodes themselves were hinting at, I think this could have been a much stronger season, because in the end, all those Doctor Who's and the puns and all the hints at his name, those were red herrings.
Yeah.
And that's too bad to me, because I like some of the stuff they do here in this episode. And I think, recognizing in this episode that, while the name is something that, it distracts a lot of people around the mythos of the Doctor, to himself, that's not what's important.
Yeah.
And that's something that actually gets down to the core of his identity, of this being a name that he chooses for himself, blah, 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 they go into in this episode. And it disappoints me that Stephen Moffat felt the need to do these red herrings when I think he did have the right idea of how to tackle the issue of the name of the Doctor. I like how they turn the phrase at the end of the episode, and I like where that leads. I'm interested in where that's going to lead to in the 50th anniversary special with John Hurt. But, if they had built to that would have made this episode feel more satisfying in totality as a finale to the season. As it stands, what this episode does, I feel it does well, but it does it kind of in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Because, the Doctor Who's did not matter to this episode.
No, they did not, even within the episode itself.
Right? And I'm not sure how to feel about that, because this is what we've said a lot on this podcast. I didn't want them to matter. I didn't want them to do that. I didn't want it to be like the Doctor says his name and Trenzalore explodes or something. That would not have been good. This was better, but at the same time, this does not,
because it's just something, like I fucking said back before even WGTC Radio, back at the end of when we did our Season 6 retrospective of, this whole plotline, the sheer idea of the plotline of trying to make the Doctor's name anything, doing anything with that, is a fucked if you do, fucked if you don't situation, because it's like, if you do it, you're going to piss off every single Doctor Who fan under the goddamn sun. If you revealed his name, or even made his name actually, literally, a, really important plot device, that would be fucking terrible. But even if you're not going to do that, if you're building up to that, then when you don't do it, it's disappointing, and it's kind of like, you don't feel like, it's like, well, this conclusion doesn't feel natural to what has been built up to, and it's like, like you said, it feels like it's now in a vacuum, and everything else, it was just all wasted.
And I really do think slight tweaks could have made this feel entirely satisfying as a resolution to the arc if they had not just put so much stock in literally what was his fucking birth name.
Yeah.
Because that's not important. And again, the idea of this episode is not that, because they hinted a couple times, in previous episodes that, oh my god, when we hear his name, it must be a terrible secret. And
whatever that, how the fuck that would even mean.
Right, and that's a stupid thing to hint at, because what they do in this episode, it's actually kind of clever that his secret is this repressed self he has that represents a split from the name he has chosen for himself. That's interesting, but that's interesting not with what they're seeding. What they're seeding is something different, and this is a twist on what they were seeding. It's like, it's unexpected, because this is not what they were building up to, but that's not satisfying in terms of how the seasonal construction. So...
Yeah. So,
and
the name of the Doctor, not like this episode, but that concept, dumb. Always was, always will be.
We're past
for
it.
all of eternity. Fucking dumb. Hopefully, we're past it.
Yeah.
Because again, this episode doesn't have an ending, so I'm not entirely convinced that we're completely past it. It might come up again. I hope it doesn't, and it doesn't need to in any way. But it still might.
Yeah.
Because what are we going to call this dude that is not really the Doctor? Doctor, please? Because that's what I'm going to call him.
Okay. Well, where do you want to go now? I mean, so that's kind of the big deal. And do you want to talk about the ending up front, or
no? Let's get to the ending. Let's go through the episode in chronological order. However you see that as being chronological order, considering it takes place across 4 different time periods.
Well, it's tough because we also start with the end of the episode, basically.
Teaser.
Well, we open with ostensibly something very early
Yeah.
on in the chronology of the series. We have the teaser with William Hartnell. Very impressive technical work by the fine folks at BBC.
Yeah.
Getting all the different doctors and sort of like putting them into these new settings sometimes, and having Clara be in there and look like of a piece with the different grain structures of the old film stock. And I kind of like the idea that in the canonicity of Doctor Who, like, William Hartnell just exists grainy. Like, that's what he was.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of awesome. But yeah, so, I mean, we see that, and we basically get these hints at what Clara is. And so, if you're following along, as soon as you get to the idea of the grave being a time stream, it's like, oh, now I see what Clara is.
Yeah. She goes into the Doctor's time stream. Whatever the fuck that means.
I mean, let's ask this question. Did you think it was good to open the episode with that teaser?
I mean, I guess, like, I thought it was interesting just because you didn't, like, as soon as, like, because, I've watched every single episode of Doctor Who, so any opportunity I have to see every single Doctor, I'll take it. I thought that aspect of it was cool, so I think it was a fun teaser.
I thought it was a fun teaser because it just said, like, oh, big shit's going down in this episode.
In case you didn't notice by it being the series finale.
Right, and I'm interested to see, like, as I was watching it, like, how we're going to get back to this concept of Clara being lost in time. Basically now they can do a spin-off where she's basically Scott Bakula in Quantum Leap, but with Doctor Who episodes. Or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's that. We then get into the episode proper. This is one of those episodes where the Doctor himself does not appear for about 10 minutes, because we've got stuff with Vostra and Strax and Jenny.
Yeah.
And Vostra is interrogating some random prisoner who somehow knows where Trenzalore is. That's kind of the one...
Who the fuck is this dude in, like, 19th century London who's, like, knows all this shit about the Doctor and his secret grave bullshit?
Yeah, that was that's something I forgot while watching it, because the episode, it's a focused episode, It's got good atmosphere, I just went past it, but then I think about the episode in totality, and I'm like, who was that guy? He's another repressed Doctor who exists outside the time stream.
He's the Master. That's who he is.
Okay. I can get down with that.
No,
No?
that'd be dumb.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No. God, no. But yes.
You don't want, like, a tattooed Cockney Master?
Yeah, no, that's not... No. I don't want another Master unless he has a goatee. Like, that is my fucking... putting my foot down. No Master until you get someone who has a goatee. Well, the last time we did that, you fucked it up. So, last time you had a Master with no goatee, they fucked it up. So,
absolutely they did. So, how about we get Alan Rickman to play the Master and he grows a goatee?
I've said many times that yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Make it happen, Stephen Moffat.
Yes.
Harry Potter's done.
Yes.
He's got plenty of time on his hands.
Yes. Well,
do it.
I don't know if that's true or not, but he might have stuff he wants to do. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but, not an annual film series where he's a major star that he has to participate in. So take that time, go do Doctor Who.
Yeah, he's presumably no longer contractually obliged to, like, not have time anymore.
Yes. So in any case, we start with that, and then basically, we do a little establishing with Vastra and Jenny and Strax, and then it's off to Dreamland. And one of the dumbest thing in this episode, and one of the dumber things I've seen in Doctor Who, is how because they need to convene this council, because Strax is off in Glasgow, and that's a really funny scene. I just want to talk about that. That is a great gag where Vastra comes in and is like, "Where's Strax?" And Jenny says, you know where he is, and Vastra's like, God, he should never have found that place. And that place, we immediately cut to a title card saying Glasgow. Yeah, and he's in this fist fight with this, like, giant bald Scotsman. It's pretty great. Fantastic guy. Yeah. But so they have to convene this council and get... what they call a conference, like a... Whatever. It's the White Council from Lord of the Rings. Yeah. But yeah, they need to get Strax, they need to get Clara, and then Dead River Song. And so to do that... I don't know how Dead River Song gets involved. I have no fucking whatever. Because she can't smoke crazy candles, She's a computer in a library. Yeah, because she's data in a data bank. So fucking who knows? The River Song stuff makes no sense in this episode. But even though I think they use Alex Kingston very well. Yeah. I mean, the use of her is good, but how she is there makes no fucking sense at all. But anyways, how they convene this council between, because Strax is off in fucking Scotland, and Clara's in the future. Yeah, Clara is, 200 years in the future, and River's, fucking thousands of years in the future, is that they smoke, or they breathe in this smoke from a candle and into a trance state
through which they can communicate with each other across space and time.
I
So
believe-
basically, they get high so that they can talk to each other through time.
What Vostra says, I just watched the scene again, and the exact quote she says, the explanation she gives Clara is, time travel has always been possible through dreams.
Then that's bullshit.
What's that
is
even mean?
complete fucking bullshit. God, no. Because it's not even like they get fucking high. Like, that's what they do. They get high. It's not like this dream bullshit. They get high. Right? So no! That is so dumb! And they just move right past it. It just happens. It's just like, what the fuck is this? How does this work? Why have I never heard about this before? Does the Doctor do this? Does he just fucking toke up in the back room of the TARDIS and like fucking hotbox it and now he's talking to Leonardo da Vinci? I have no fucking clue. That's so dumb. The episode just does it and moves past it instead of trying to find... I mean, obviously, I think why it happens is because Stephen Moffat presumably just couldn't think of a good way to get these characters together without involving the Doctor in some way. But still, this is not an acceptable solution to me to solve that problem for the episode. Because God is that dumb.
And I think, the actual explanation for it is dumb. I still like the scene, and I like the way...
I like this. It's kind of like the river stuff, where it's like, I like the scene, but I can't even buy that the scene is even happening, because this is so dumb.
It didn't bother me as much as it bothered you, but, it's a gap.
Yeah, sure.
If we're putting it
A gap
politely.
you could fly a TARDIS through.
Yes. Like a TARDIS once it's like dying and got to become really big. And,
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, but that scene I like. It's another scene with like a really interesting set design, and it's kind of it's a fun scene to watch. And then it's got a really good hook at the end, the introduction of the Whispermen as Jenny is in the dream, and then she's been murdered outside of it.
Yeah,
which they kind of cop out on later.
Yeah,
but
they bring her back like 5 minutes later through.
Yeah.
Because it's great too because they're just like they say just like she's dead. She's under like that complete cardio collapse, and he's just like, and then she just gets up. It's like in Gears of War when you just tap your dude's shoulder and it's like, oh, all those bullet wounds are now fully healed. You can just walk around and fight again.
He technically does send like an electrical pulse to restart her heart.
Yeah, but
Advanced Sontaran medical equipment.
She was dead for like hours, right? Like she was fucking.
I don't know.
Maybe not hours, but like for a significant amount of time.
It's okay.
Long enough that you can't defibrillate her at the very least. But yeah, no, like but that scene where she. Because how it happens is that the Whispermen sort of sneak in, and Ginny is somehow aware of it, even in her trance-like state. And she's going like, I didn't lock the door, I think there's someone in here with us. And Madame Vostra is just like, shut the fuck up, bitch. And then she's like, oh, I think I've been murdered. And Madame Vostra's like, oh, that sucks.
She's a little more emotional than
that,
but yes.
Yeah, but yeah, like I thought that idea was really cool, and it sort of was like this gut punch of she just... Because you're expecting this whole, like, they're going to get in a fight now, and then she just says, I've already been murdered, and you realize, oh, fuck, it's too late.
Yeah.
But it's not too late. And then it sucks because, unless they're planning to do some sort of probably terrible spin-off with these characters, Ginny is completely expendable. Like, she's a character you could kill off and, like, have good dramatic consequence from killing her off. And I thought
I like Jenny's
pussying out.
Yeah, because Jenny's a character I like, but I don't like enough that I would be like, would stop watching Doctor Who if she was killed. Yeah. But I like enough that would be a gut punch.
Yeah, and especially out of the three of them even, she's the most expendable.
Yeah. And then you could have like Madame Vostra just going on a vengeance-filled rampage through the streets of London.
Yep.
Searching for anyone in like a top hat and just killing them.
She's just looking for people without faces.
Yes. What did you think of the Whispermen? That's our introduction to them.
I guess they were kind of cool, but I don't...
The Whispermen are kind of, to me, like they were...
Like, I mean, I guess I get that they were like sort of like puppet automatons of the Great Intelligence, but this is like sort of one of the big problems with the episode is like the Great Intelligence, like how, what, why, how.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. I just think in terms of like their design and function, the Whispermen worked well enough for what the episode needed, which was just some basic villains who could propel danger along, and I thought the episode was wise not to try to build them up as like... they didn't like try to build them up to the level of the Silence and then not do much with them. They very much were there as villains you could just kind of have there because you need some dramatic tension here and there, but they're not the focus of the episode.
Yeah, and for whatever reason, Stephen Moffat was really in the mood to rhyme, so he's like, fuck it, we'll have some rhyming villains.
Yeah.
Even though, why was the Great Intelligence having them rhyme all the time? Who knows? Whatever.
Why does the Great Intelligence do a single thing he does in this episode?
I mean... I get that he would be pissed off at the Doctor. Like, the extent of his pissed offness is a little extreme, but at least there is a reason there. There is no reason to have these Whispermen, like, create these creepy little, like, whispery poems that are, like, supposed to be prophetic, but none of them come true.
Now, let's just talk about this. Great intelligence.
Okay.
He does stem from the original series, right?
Yes, but he's in, like, 2 episodes from the 2, like, serials from the Second Doctor era that neither of them... I think there's, like, 1 episode from one of them that still exists. Okay. So...
Do you know their plot function there at all? Or?
I barely remember. Like, they're not, as far as I recall, not really, like, fantastic episodes. I think those are the Yeti ones, that I think he's controlling the Yeti. But it's like...
We don't need to...
This is not the same Great Intelligence. Like, it doesn't feel like they make, like, any bones to, like...
Okay, so
like,
the explanation for his...
Specifically from my... Yeah, this does not, like, reach deep into the annals of Doctor Who. It's not like an episode of Doctor Who ended where he's like, "One day, Doctor, I'll get you," kind of thing.
Okay.
No. Yeah, it's not the Doctor's great long-lost nemesis that everyone forgot about.
Yeah, because I think we talked about this, like, if, for instance, it had been the Master being the villain in this episode, it would make total sense that he would want to just destroy the Doctor.
The Master,
like
that. Or Davros.
Yeah.
Like, someone that the Doctor actually had to fight. We're like, oh my god.
But this is just kind of a random one-off villain who sort of appeared in multiple episodes.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, I mean... so
he appeared significantly in The Snowmen, was kind of there in the background in Bells of St. John, and then wasn't in any of the other ones, so...
Yeah. Doctor Who!
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen. That's Series 7 for you in a nutshell.
Yeah. Great
in any case. So, alright, what happens next in the episode? So we have this conference call with everyone getting high.
Yeah.
Them calling it a conference call is fucking weird. Like, I gotta wonder, like, Stephen Moffat, does he, like, just hate conference calls so much that he just smokes weed, like, throughout conference calls, and that's how he got the idea for this episode?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. Alright, in any case, so we have that, and then we get to, we're back to Clara in her apartment, and we have a very, very funny and sweet scene with the Doctor there, playing, like, blind man's bluff with the kids.
Yeah.
The kids crapped out on him because the kids are evil.
They asked him, because he was babysitting them, and they asked him to take them to the movie theater, and he said no. And so then they tricked him, and then they went to the movie, presumably went to the movie theater.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That is a funny scene. Matt Smith is good in that scene. Then I have to worry about the kids, though, because Clara's kind of just gone after that. I mean, I guess...
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen after, like, when they get out of the time stream or anything at the end of this episode. If they can...
How they would even get out of the time stream in the first place.
We'll see.
Yeah.
There's more to come, It's not like as presumably the 50th anniversary special will follow up on this. It won't just be like a random one-off.
Hopefully. That would be really weird. It's like, and the first episode of Series 8 doesn't deal with it either. Like, it's just like, we just leave this. And, like, it was only there to set up John Hurt as the Doctor. That's it. Like, we never bring up how they got out of the time stream.
Oh, I was joking that we would never see John Hurt again.
Oh, no. I mean, that's confirmed that he's in the 50th anniversary.
I know,
You can't even make that joke because it's too implausible.
Yes. All right. So anyway, let's see. We then, and actually this is a good set of scenes here, where Matt Smith is very funny there, and then he has to turn really fast to play very distraught because he hears Clara's message about Trenzalore. And this is where, to me, the episode really picks up in terms of just building a really tight atmosphere of sort of despair and dread and this sense of sort of the age of the Doctor feeling very omnipresent, and that this idea of him having to go and confront the end of his lifespan at Trenzalore. And we get the scene where he's crying on the couch. Matt Smith emotes. There's the word. Emotes very well.
He evokes a lot of emotion.
He does.
As you would say.
And then they go to the TARDIS, and we have the explanation about how the one place a time traveler can never go is
his birth. Apparently it's great, but I kind of was hoping that's the direction it was going to go in. But
that would be interesting. They would have had to go to Gallifrey.
Because this is while I agreed, like, Matt Smith was fucking amazing in these scenes, and this is one of my problems with, like, the entire episode, is that I don't care about the Doctor's grave. Like, that doesn't... And it doesn't feel like the Doctor would be afraid of that in some way. Like, when they're building up this secret, I was like, what could this be? Because it's like, you didn't know that it was going to be his tomb, and so my mind was going through stuff of, like, him having to go back to Gallifrey, would be like, yeah, okay, holy shit, that would be a really big deal. And this is sort of I passed the point of, I thought this was actually a plausible theory, but a theory I think would have been really interesting, because, like, with the whole secret thing, is the valet yard being somehow involved in it, and we'll get into who that is later with, like, theory stuff. But it's like, I thought, like, there was so many interesting possibilities to do with this idea, and, like, with the Doctor being that distraught at hearing that message, that it being his tomb, like, I don't think the Doctor would be really freaked out about that in any way.
Well,
I mean, he would be a little freaked out about it, but I don't think it would be a big deal.
I don't think what he's freaked out about is seeing that he dies one day. I don't.
Yeah, but going to his tomb and all this stuff, like, it's not. To me, it's not even interesting. Like, it's not even something I care to see. Like, I don't even want to see it.
What he's freaked out about is, A, he shouldn't be going somewhere so that he now knows his own future.
Yeah.
B, it's dangerous because they're talking about the time paradoxes that go when a time traveler crosses with his grave or not. Whether or not you agree with the physics of that, whatever, that is the explanation in the episode. And he knows presumably what his own grave will be, and he knows it's going to be very dangerous. So...
Well, probably not, because wherever he's buried, there's, like, no one else there. It's not dangerous at all.
It's dangerous because people have kidnapped his friends and taken them there.
No, but I mean, like, I thought you meant that, like, where he would have died would have been a really dangerous place kind of thing.
Not that, but that, he's obviously afraid because he knows just from his knowledge of time travel and stuff, this is a place he should not go. And I agree there are probably emotional connections you could get to a place like Gallifrey more immediately and more heavily, but I think in the context of this episode, it makes sense to me, and it makes sense
I guess, but, like, I just didn't... Once it was revealed it was that, I was like, oh, that's not interesting to me at all. Like, it's just like, why is this such a huge deal to you? Because that does not feel natural to me at all, that he would be like, oh my god, like, this is like, I have to go to my own grave, and it's like this paradox, whatever. Like, that's not, I don't know, it just does not seem like something the Doctor would do to me in any way. So,
okay, it was fine to me, and I thought
I have seen almost 800 episodes of Doctor Who, so...
Okay.
Just going to say that.
That's great. I like Doctor Who, too.
Yeah. I've seen almost 800 episodes of Doctor Who.
That's great. I like Doctor Who, too. So, I can say this worked for me. No, it didn't work for you. And then, what I'll say about that is I thought, if you were to, you're telling me that the plot of Name of the Doctor is he has to go to his own grave. Inherently, that would not be interesting to me, but I did believe the episode made it interesting because I think, again, Matt Smith plays it very well. I think when we get there, I think the story stuff there is interesting, and I think the design of Trenzalore, the design of the tomb being a dead TARDIS, and a lot of the, just the production elements and the story elements that go into it, I thought it worked very well, and I guess, although for me,
like... And this is just sort of one of my problems with the whole concept of it being something I don't want to see. Is one, I don't even want there to be, like, like, obviously the Doctor is going to die, but there's this one thing of knowing that, okay, everything dies, and then it's like, we're showing you his fucking grave kind of thing. And then I don't... To me, when the Doctor dies, he would just be in a grave somewhere, like, labeled John Smith, and that would be it. Like, it wouldn't be this, he is on this dead planet in this massive cemetery filled with the names of his friends, and there's this dead TARDIS, this monument to his tomb kind of thing. Like, that just doesn't feel Doctor Who to me, I guess. Like, that's like the root of it all is like that concept, and the way they execute on it does not feel like Doctor Who to me.
Well, but we know the Doctor does not want to deify himself, but we know other people do, at least in the revived Who, and I can see him dying and people building a monument to him for all they did for him, or all he did for them.
Yeah, but it's not, but like, I'm saying it's plausible that could happen, but the feel of it is not right to me. Like, I agree, it's like, sure, that is where he could have died, but this does not feel like this is the Doctor's grave. Like, that's not the sense I get from it, I guess.
Okay. Well, what happens next in the episode? We get there, we have some exploration, and then Ghost River comes in and is talking to Clara at first. And then we find River Song's tomb. That's the entrance underground. And right around then, the Great Intelligence shows up, right?
Yeah. I think he gets there, and then because that's after they revive Ginny, and then he's kidnapped Strax and Madame Vostra and Ginny.
Yeah, and they're trying to get into the tomb, and the entrance to the tomb is the Doctor's name, I guess.
Yes, please.
Although I'm not sure it is. I'm wondering, this could be something they could turn around on, but, we'll see. The explanation given here is that River says the name and that opens it, which doesn't completely make sense.
Does not make any sense.
Yeah.
God, no. But yeah, like that... And this is sort of another one of the sort of like weird issues I have with this episode, and just one of the issues with making the Doctor's name a thing at all, is that when... I get there are some reasons behind this, but I still think, like... when the Great Intelligence is threatening to kill all the Doctor's friends, and Intelligence say your name, open the door, and the Doctor just says no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. The Doctor would do it. He would say his name because it's not a big deal.
But
I know he doesn't want to go in there for their practical reasons of I shouldn't be going into my tomb. But the reason the Doctor went there and he had that whole speech of that they helped him through his dark time, and this that he owes them he has a duty. It feels like the Doctor.
But then they're all. But if he lets them in, then they're all gonna fucking die because.
They all should have just been killed. They could have all just been killed, but that's not realistic. That's not how the episode would have gone. The Doctor could have just said his name and then figured out a plan once he got inside there. That's what the Doctor always does.
Okay.
The Doctor not wanting to say his name as this plot point is dumb. He could have just. I mean, obviously you were not going to hear him say his name. We're not going to know what his name is. But the Doctor would be fine with saying his name. It's not. It's a secret, but it's not a secret. It's not it will have consequences if people know what his name is, because that doesn't fucking matter at all. Most people couldn't even pronounce his name anyway, presumably, because it's Galfran. So, yeah.
Alright, so Ghost River says it, or we just assume his name is Please.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's canonical at this point. We can just say that's canonical, right? His name is Please, Dr. Please, because it's stop it, and then he yells, please, and then the door opens. And then River says that, Ghost River says that she said it. But that doesn't make any fucking sense. Because, one, Ghost River, who is just data in a hard drive in a planet in, a completely different time zone, time era, way, way, way away, is somehow psychically connected to Clara through them both getting high, even though River couldn't get high. And through that psychic connection, she is somehow able to say the Doctor's name, which nobody can hear, and then the door opens. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Am I right there that doesn't make sense? Am I doing?
I guess not.
Crazy?
I guess not.
I'm glad that River is there, and I'm glad, and I like the stuff they do with her. But the fact that she's even there in the first place makes no fucking sense.
I guess not. I've been trying to think about this, and I'm not. Yeah, I can't come up with any completely rational explanation for why she would be there, but I think, I don't know, sometimes you just gotta roll with these things. I don't think...
I mean, yeah, it's a suspension of disbelief thing, and my suspension failed, I guess.
Okay. And I was okay with it, even though that was in the back of my mind, I'm not entirely sure how she's here, but, it's...
It feels clunky to me, that's all. It's just
okay.
It feels like Stephen Moffat wanted, and it's the same thing with, them getting all high in the first place, that Stephen Moffat wanted these characters to be together, but he had no way of making that happen, so he just, pulled something completely out of his ass that just makes it absolutely no sense.
Well, that's a weird thing, because if they wanted to devote an extra minute to it, you could probably do a quick technobabble line and make it
most likely.
Make it work.
But, I mean, even, the Data River be, I don't even know how you did that involved without making that its own episode in some way, which in some ways kind of deserved to be its own episode. I mean, I thought they did a good job of it here, but
even if you go back to the Forest of the Dead episode, all the explanations of how they're able to do that is very, that's not something they sit down and explain the technology behind it.
Yeah, but the idea of downloading human data into a databank is plausible.
But then creating a projection of that, now doing that across time, a little difficult, but...
you can even get, if you want to get, super technical about it, she wouldn't even be able to communicate with them because, that information would have to travel at the speed of light to get there in the first place. So just the distance part of it would make communication completely impossible.
She's traveling at maximum warp.
She does not have the capacity to bend space when she's a data ghost.
You don't know that.
I feel I'm pretty safe in that assumption that she does not have the capacity to bend space when she's a data ghost.
Yeah.
She can't even do that when she's a human, Time Lord.
Yes, so I guess we can just assume River is a magician.
It's a god. River's a god. She is the goddess of time. There we go.
Alright.
She's the goddess of time, and the Doctor's name is Please. It's canonical now. Done.
Alright. So anyway, they get in there, and this is where we see that the Doctor does not have a body, as he says, I've had plenty of bodies. His death, his grave, is represented by, as he explains it, all the tears he has made in time through time travel are sort of represented and creates a time stream.
So is that created like on the spot where the Doctor literally died? Is it just like all of a sudden when you die, all the holes you made in time and space just like conflate there and make a big spinny, cool looking thing?
I think it probably has something to do with it that is in the TARDIS, and
yes, maybe.
I would just say the TARDIS does have a great amount of time energy on its own. And it's dead now, but so is the Doctor. So that those could be remnants. You could say that was something that they did not sit down and explain everything of, but it made sense to me.
This is not something that just like I feel is like a huge problem.
And I actually thought this was a cool idea that he would not have just a body there, that it would have something like this. And later on, him going into his own dead time stream, a little weird, but in terms of it being there,
the reason why there is no body is because the Doctor would not look the same he does now, presumably when he dies in the future, and they would not know what he looks like, so they wouldn't want to show a body. But
right,
yeah, but an interesting way to get around that problem.
Well, it's a problem, but also if it was just a body, there would be nothing story-wise they could do with that.
Yeah, but like, if they knew what the Doctor was going to look like, what that regeneration would look like, they would have put a body there. That's all I'm saying. Like that's. And it feels like, I'm saying it's a creative solution, but it feels like the reason why this exists in the first place kind of comes from that problem.
Yeah. And I mean, this is an interesting thing. I mean, I don't assume Stephen Moffat is being cocky enough that he assumes he will write Doctor Who until its final ending and show the Trenzalore stuff. I'm actually thinking we will probably get something in the future to make it so that Trenzalore is actually not his death place or something. They'll probably play with that.
Yeah, they're probably going to retcon all of this. So
yeah. Well, time can be rewritten.
No, can't. Not one single line, as the first Doctor said in the Aztecs. So fuck you. Time cannot be rewritten.
They've said that a lot in the revived series.
I go by William Hartnell.
Okay.
He's my guiding light.
All right. Do you want to write a love poem about him and share it on the podcast?
I mean, I'll write a love poem about him, but I'm not going to share it on the podcast. It's private.
Okay. Good. In any case, so we get in there and we find out that, and this is where we have to talk about, I think, the Great Intelligence and its plan. It's a really good evil plan.
Yeah, I mean,
it's effective.
Yeah.
He's going to go into that fucking time stream. He's going to reverse every single one of the Doctor's victories into a defeat.
I mean, realistically, if he just wanted to kill the Doctor, he could just throw him to a pile of lava or something, and the Doctor regenerates. He just keeps on dying over and over. But if you want to go above and beyond the Call of Duty and trying to kill the Doctor, this is a good way to do it, to try to kill the Doctor in every single moment of his life by jumping into the time stream.
It's a damn good evil plan.
Yeah.
And, but the problem with it is that the Great Intelligence, we just do not know enough about this character to believe that, A, he would let himself die for this.
Yeah.
He is dying just so he can spite the Doctor.
Yeah.
And we don't know why he's that angry. I mean, I know he messed up your snowflake plot.
Yeah, and your Bells of St. John thing, which also raises a question. How the flying fuck did the Great Intelligence even get there in the first place? Because he was trapped on Earth. Did he just wait millions of years? Just until just wait thousands and thousands of years until space travel is invented, get to Trenzalore, and then wait millions of years for the Doctor to show up to enact his evil plan? How does the Great Intelligence have this ability to even time travel, to send the Whispermen back through time to get Madame Strax and all those people in the first place?
Well, I guess I don't remember.
Where did the Great Intelligence get any of these abilities? Because in the Snowmen and in the Bells of St. John, he didn't have he was stranded on Earth.
So I guess I just don't remember those episodes enough. What is the Great Intelligence?
I thought it was
because this
they explain it in the Snowmen, but I'm trying to fucking remember. Because he was in the snow.
What it implies here is it's he's Q from Star Trek or something.
That's what he feels like, and that's not what he's been before. He's never right. Because if he had this kind of power, why would he be fucking around on Earth in Victorian London and in modern times with Wi-Fi? There would be no point. He was trying to get power at those points in time, I think, or whatever. But
is it possible that we are now supposed to assume that this is actually the first appearance of the Great Intelligence, and that those are him in the time stream fucking with things in Snowman and
I don't know that doesn't make any sense, because I feel like he directly sort of references "You stopped me" then. In this episode.
Okay. Yeah, and I agree. I saw that floated online, and I wanted to mention it.
Yeah, that doesn't.
I see
because I haven't watched The Snowman since it aired, but I'm pretty damn sure if you went back and watched it, that wouldn't make any sense.
Right.
The Ian McKellen Great Intelligence thing did not did not feel like it was seated there in any way.
Yeah.
So
So I guess there's just a missing, couple episodes in the middle where the Great Intelligence on his own just figured out how to become omniscient.
And he's just like how the fuck does he do any of the stuff in this episode? He's just there and just like, this is your time stream, Doctor. I have these crazy whisper things that I can just make, and I can pull people across all of time and space and bring them here to your grave. And if that might be your grave, it might not. Who knows? We could have just built like a really, really tall thing, like front of a police box, and painted it blue. And you just assumed that.
I think we just have to assume that Doctor Who and Star Trek happened in the same universe, and he was adopted into the Q continuum.
Probably.
Yes.
Sure. Okay. So what have we determined as canonical? River Song is the goddess of time. The Doctor's name is Doctor Please. The Great Intelligence got adopted into the Q continuum. Okay.
And then we can have an episode next year called Doctor Q, because all Q episodes from Star Trek there's some pun with Q. So yes, I'm excited for the Doctor Q episode starring guest star John Delancey from Star Trek.
All right.
So anyway, this is to me.
So Stephen Moffat was totally right in like all those interviews where he was saying it's like after this episode, Doctor Who's never going to be the same again. Like look at all the stuff we found out.
Yes.
Look at all like the monumental truths reaching back to the history of the show. Doctor Please, Goddess of Time, Q Continuum. It's fucking crazy.
It is. It really is. Now, this is my biggest problem with the episode, though, is that the Great Intelligence, more than anything else, that some of the things that feel unearned. Like, we'll get into the Clara stuff in a minute. That, to me, at least felt like they had done some groundwork with it. This was something where I felt like...
It felt like they just turned the Great Intelligence into a walking plot device, and he was, like, no longer a character in any way.
And it's too bad, because I do think if this had been some villain we have some connection to, and they could absolutely have done something with that, I think it would have taken some pre-planning somewhere else.
Yeah, obviously it would have had to have been seeded earlier in the season, like whoever it was, but...
Like, I wouldn't have minded if they wanted to do something with Davros in Asylum of the Daleks and then have him be there a couple times, and then he's like, fuck it, Doctor, you have eradicated my race, 8 different times.
It's like, I am tired of I just want to make some crazy killing robot monsters. I'm tired of you not letting me do that, so I'm going to kill you at every single point in your entire life.
And that would have made sense with the 50th anniversary, because the Daleks are, they're the iconic villain. Yeah. They are the Joker to his Batman.
Wouldn't it be great for, the 50th anniversary if they went back to 10,000 BC, like the caveman episode with caveman politics? That was, that's where it started. It's like Ogrog or whatever his name is. He's the guy who's, got so pissed off at the Doctor because he lost his fucking political power, so he goes into the Doctor's time stream and kills the Doctor along every single point of his lifetime.
I'd enjoy that.
I would too. If you want to call back to the history of Doctor Who, you can't go much farther than going back to the first caveman episode. So let's bring them back.
That would be pretty great. All right. So let's see. So that happens. Great Intelligence goes in. He's fucking with the Doctor. Doctor is in a lot of pain. Stars are going out. Jenny dies. Strax becomes... This is a nice little touch where Strax forgets that he's nice now.
Yeah.
And he's talking about the Sontaran Empire. He dies. Some reason Vastra doesn't die, but I would think...
Vastra shouldn't even be there in the first place if the Doctor presumably,
Yeah, because
I don't even know how Vastra's there actually in the first place, now that I think about it. Because the Silurians never popped up in the 19th century, so...
No. They've explained Vastra. They explained in The Snowman that she was in... she was in one of the pods underneath, which they had seeded in Series 5. They talked about that was, their escape pod thing, blah, blah, blah. And then in The Snowman, they were building something, and they dug too deep, and they accidentally awoke her, and then she,
All right.
It's not necessarily the greatest explanation in the world, but that is in The Snowman.
It is the plot to every single Silurian episode ever.
Yeah. So it's fine.
Sure.
But yeah, the Doctor Who has saved the Silurians before, so if he died, she would be,
probably, yeah.
She would never have been born. Or something.
Probably, yeah.
Who knows? In any case, we have that. That starts happening, and then Clara makes the decision that she will go into the time stream and fight back, and that's kind of brings her full circle. What did you think of that plot development?
I mean, I think it is a good idea. The main problem with it is that Clara has not been particularly fleshed out as a companion to me, particularly not this version of Clara, because... They never felt like in the Bells of St. John, it was that was about this version of Clara, and we got this really great sense of who she is as a person or anything. And it doesn't, and she hasn't been with the Doctor long enough and had enough personal interaction with the Doctor to make it feel natural that then she would just jump into his time stream without having any idea of what the consequences of that action would really be.
It's the kind of thing Amy would do after so much time, because Amy knows everything about, not everything about the Doctor, but she knows his importance. She's been around with him long enough, and the Doctor has, been very, very integral to her life.
Yeah. I mean, with Clara, like, she even, like, would... Like, she wasn't even, like, a resident of the TARDIS.
No.
Like, she would constantly be dropped off and go home, like she is at the beginning of this episode. So it's like, she has probably the least close relationship with the Doctor of any of his companions. So, other than Chameleon, the robot that was in 2 episodes because the robot broke and they needed to fix it and they didn't have the money to fix it. Other than him, she's, like, the least involved companion.
What serial is that? I have to see this.
It's the 5th Doctor's last season, because he's in the episode right before Kaiser and Nizani where Perry is introduced, and that is his last appearance, and he only appeared one other time before as a shape-shifting robot that the Master uses.
I think over the summer we are just going to have to talk about crazy Doctor Who episodes.
Sure. Like, I wasn't even thinking of that as like a particularly crazy Doctor Who thing, but okay. Maybe my perspective is skewed, but
There's no robot companions in Revived 2. We are missing out.
Yeah, I mean, we're missing out with the companions in Revive 2. I've said that many times. If you go back to Classic Who, you get some weird companions.
Yes.
But yeah.
All right, so in any case, Clara does this, and I agree. I think this is at least... This does not feel like it comes completely out of the blue. I don't want to say that. It is not what the Great Intelligence is, because we do know Clara to an extent. Jen Louise Coleman has done so much more than she has been called upon to do by the scripts. I mean, I think you really have to praise her for that. That this moment works at all is on her. Because she has done a tremendous job, often with nothing, in these last 8, 9, 10 episodes. However you want. I guess she's introduced the Snowman, even though she's kind of a different... Although, she's really the same person all the time. We know now it's just different versions. Blah, blah, blah.
I guess.
So,
even though all of them feel really different to me, but...
Yeah. So, and I think it, we've definitely seen that the Doctor is important to her as a friend, and that, she knows enough to know the importance of this, but I really, and I think they did a smart thing here by calling back to Journey of the Center of the TARDIS and having her remember those things.
Yeah, even though that doesn't make sense that she would even be able to remember those things, because those things never happened in the first place. But
TARDIS leaking energy...
Those things never happened in the first place, but...
Okay. Yeah, it does not...
It's just said, when you get too involved with time travel stuff, the logic of it all breaks down, but...
Yeah. And it... That's kind of weird, but at least they call back to that. That episode is not a complete waste now. They did something with that later. Yes. It slightly makes me view that episode in a slightly better light.
Yeah.
And I'm talking slightly. I don't want to overstate this.
Yeah.
But, I'm going to give it a slight amount of credit, even though that's still a dumb ending. And what they, honestly, I think I wrote this in my notes, what they could have done is just have Journey to the Center of the TARDIS be episode 13, not have it end with the button push, and then start here with her being like, Doctor, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And that could have been an interesting direction to go, but it really does feel like they took the 8 episodes, or the middle 6 episodes of the season, put them in a hat and drew them out. It's like, this is how we're airing them.
Yeah, they definitely they had no sort of, like, connection between the episodes other than, like, Crimson Horror setting up Nightmare in Silver, but
I guess.
Like, that was the one.
And that could have been
that felt like that scene was written, like, just, like, way after that, like, the normal script was written, just like, we need this to set up the Neil Gaiman episode, so slot it in there.
Yeah. In any case, I do, again, as I'm saying, they have not, the problem this season, I think it could have been very easy for them to do better by Clara and make her a character we really care about beyond just the actress being good and having good chemistry with Matt Smith, because that's undeniable, but the character herself is just not well drawn enough. Yeah. And I think more than anything, it's what I've said before, I think Stephen Moffat exhibited some poor show running this year where, if Clara does not feel like the Clara we need to know and love in a certain script, like in Cold War, or that's the biggest offender there, but there are some other cases of that. Then as the showrunner, it's his prerogative to go in and rewrite every single line of hers until it feels like the Clara he wants us to know. Mm-hmm. And I think, if you watch most really good TV shows, and Doctor Who usually is this season had some problems, but usually if you even go to other seasons of recent Doctor Who, it doesn't feel like every episode is written by a different person. That is not the goal of TV.
Yeah.
The goal is for it to feel consistent. Sometimes you will have different voices in the mix, and that's good. But a Neil Gaiman episode of Doctor Who, for instance, feels like Doctor Who. And Neil Gaiman has talked about that he works with Stephen Moffat very closely to make sure it fits with the current tone. Mm-hmm. It's not just that he goes off and writes this in a vacuum and turns it in, and it's brilliant.
Yeah.
It is collaborative, and I think some episodes this year did not feel collaborative in that way. They really felt like they were in a vacuum, and because there was really no story connections between there, it was really just like, we would keep mentioning she's impossible, but we're not doing anything with that.
Yeah.
Then that becomes very tough. And we saw, Journey to the Center of the TARDIS, the scenes where they did confront the plot before they hit the reset button, those were kind of high points for the character, because that was something where, okay, we're actually pushing something forward.
Yeah.
But then we pull it back by hitting a button.
Yeah.
And so it's just too bad, because I think with the amount of time they had this season, even if it was just the half season where we met Clara, they definitely could have built to this in a way that would have made this moment feel great. As it is, I think it's a good moment. I don't think it's a bad moment, but could have been better.
I mean, one of the things that makes it really awkward is like the nature of Clara's relationship with the Doctor is so different than any other companion, because it's sort of flipped in the sense that the Doctor is the one who's gravitated towards her and like sought her out, whereas Clara, like most companions, it goes the other way, where it's like the companion is gravitated and attracted towards the Doctor and needs the Doctor in some way, and so sort of like latches onto him in that sense. And that's not really the situation with Clara. Like, Clara did not really need the Doctor,
No, and honestly, I think that's even an idea they could have played with.
Yeah, but you can't.
But they didn't.
Yeah, you would have needed a long stretch of episodes that were like focused heavily on Clara's character development to get her to the point from like there where it's like the Doctor needs her to where she sort of reciprocates that enough to then sacrifice her life, presumably to save him at the end of this episode.
And that would be a really interesting arc.
I agree. If they had done it,
and honestly, the model for that kind of companion arcing is Series 5 of Revive 2, where we have Amy and the Doctor, their relationship is so well spelled out in the 11th hour, and where they have to go together by the end of the season, every episode feels like it plays into that. And so when we get to the Pandorica Opens and the Big Bang, and the reciprocal sacrifices they're making, and Rory thrown into the mix too, that is just so satisfying, because those characters, they did everything right that year.
Yeah.
And this year, when it comes to some of the arcing, they did a lot wrong. And
a lot wrong.
It's too bad, because... And my biggest hope with this revelation of what Clara is, that she is, she's impossible because she went to the time stream and scattered across time, blah, 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 and now the Doctor has rescued her, seemingly, at the end of the episode. I think they can go in interesting places with her now, and I hope they commit to it, and I hope they make this an ongoing part of her character, that, she now... This idea that she has seen the totality of the Doctor's life, I think that's something they can play with now.
But has she? It doesn't seem like she hasn't. Like, she scattered aspects of her, like copies of herself through all of the Doctor's lifetime, but like actual, real, original Clara has just sort of seen the Doctor, like, seen what the other generations of the Doctor looks like. And I didn't get the sense of, like, at the end of the episode, that she now, like, has seen everything that the Doctor has.
That's not what I meant. I probably misspoke. I just meant that, being in here, and that this is an event, no matter what, in her life, that is something they can do more with in the future. Yeah. That's all. That, we do not have another companion, for the most part, who, knows what all the regenerations look like, has this sense of the size of the Doctor's life. Because we can, he can tell his companions, I'm 1,200 years old, even though he would have no idea how old he is. But that doesn't convey something that she has now seen, and I think this is hopefully, this is all I'm saying, is this is a direction they can go with, where this makes her a little more unique, and hopefully they can characterize from here. I think they can definitely improve the character from this point out.
Yeah.
Especially because they have another season with her, we have a clean slate, probably after the 50th anniversary special, where we can hopefully have a new story starting our new season. And I hope that, I think they've got a tremendous asset in Jenna Louise Coleman, and I don't want it to go to waste.
Yeah, but it is definitely something where, and even the nature of the sort of like, this is one of the things that Stephen Moffat did with like sort of setting up stuff that doesn't feel like it quite pays off, is that the nature of her being this impossible girl, like when that's revealed, you don't get this sense of like, I now see this like other side of this person or something. That's like, it doesn't feel like there has been this great secret or like this great mystery that has been solved when it happens, because it's like, you didn't even need to see this mystery at all. If you'd taken out all the impossible girl stuff, the Doctor had just run into Clara, and then she did this, it would be like the exact same. It'd be like Rose fucking becoming Bad Wolf at the end of season 1. I don't know. Like, you don't need this. Like, it didn't feel like at the end of it, it's like, I now understand so much more about Clara or something. It's like, I understand, like, the nature of what this whole thing is. It didn't feel like it had this satisfying, like, solution to me to like this like interesting puzzle.
I will agree that it did not make me view Clara herself in a different light. That is definitely true.
Yeah.
I did think it was a satisfying resolution of the mystery, and in hindsight,
I do, but I guess it's a satisfying resolution to the mystery, but it doesn't feel like it's a. I think it's part of the problem with like how the mystery and the puzzle has been built up from the beginning, but it doesn't feel like there's this like satisfying like. Yeah, like awesome, like twist, like I didn't sort of see that coming, and this like reveals new information that I find really interesting. like I said, like it felt like you didn't need to set this up as a mystery even in the first place. Like that, this episode could have been written without any of that, and it still would have been just as fine. Like I would not have looked at that situation any differently without the setup, which is just like really weird.
Yeah. So, but it works for me. I definitely like it. I think there's some really good just emotional work going on in the episode here. And then sort of the last 10 minutes, once she's done that, we get one of my favorite scenes from this season of Doctor Who, which is the last scene with the Doctor and River Song. I thought that was a really nice...
Yeah, it was a good scene. I mean, I really like the scene. I still don't... Like, a lot of my relationship with this episode, I feel, is really heavily informed, like, inevitably is heavily informed by the scope of Doctor Who that I have seen, but I still find his romance with Dr. Song too hard for me to buy. Like, I just can't, having, like, experienced so much with this character, it is so hard for me to buy how much of a shift his relationship with Dr. Song is compared to how he's dealt with people for the entire run of the show, I guess.
And I'll tell you,
it's more believable than any... Okay, if they had set up a romance between him and Romana, it would have been the most believable thing, but... Like, it is more believable than any romance they have tried to set up, I guess, in the past. But I still don't buy it.
Well, and to me, and I'll tell you how I interpret it, if it were just a straight, he really is just head over heels in love with River, I could never buy that. But that's really never been how they've pitched it or played it.
I guess,
and really, the sense I got from it here, and why I liked this scene so much, and why I feel it summarizes their relationship, is it's the same thing I see in The Wedding of River Song and some of the other episodes that pivotal to their sort of relationship, is that I think she views him as everything to her. And we see that here, that to her, the Doctor is everything. That is the entirety of her life is built around him, because she is mortal, she is limited, and she is not eternal. To him, though, she is this blip in his life, and that's what I keep seeing in their relationship, is it's something where he does have care for her, he cares for her, he has affection for her, and what is sad to him about it is that he's never going to feel the same way, because he is so much vaster than she is on the scale of life itself. And so I think that last scene where he doesn't know how to say goodbye, he doesn't have this same sense of even what a goodbye is that she does here, because they're coming at it from such separate ways, and the emotions they're sharing in that scene, I think they're different from one another. And I really like how that scene is written and how it portrays that and how
That's
it's acted.
interesting, but I didn't get that sense like at all from that scene.
Okay.
Like that is not...
I really did.
Feel like it.
I really did, and I got that when I watched The Wedding of River Song the other night, where I think that's actually one of the scenes, some of the stuff I like in that episode is how they do some of the stuff with their relationship, where I think even if you go back to some of Let's Kill Hitler, like the beginning of their relationship, and some of the other episodes, I think as they've gone deeper into this relationship, sometimes they've overused River Song, but when she's at her best, I like this idea of someone who has created an entire image and life built around being with this incredible time-traveling man, and him being, this is sort of a pit stop on his journey where he can love her, but he cannot love her in this all-consuming way. And I think that the point they reach in that scene with him saying, see you next time, Professor, and she says, goodbye, honey, and that's, and they, even the kiss they share, it feels like the way they're performing it is not, this is not Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio in Titanic kissing, it's, I like that scene, and I think it was a very good send-off to River, and I think if you had told me before the episode that, and this is what we knew Alex Kingston was going to be in it, and I didn't think there was anything all that interesting they could do with her anymore, because I really did feel like, in a literal sense, they'd finished her story, but I think emotionally there were just a couple little things left to do, and I thought they did them here very well.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm glad that now we don't have this weird hanging thing of this horrific thing the Doctor did to River, entrapping her inside a fake computer world at the end of Silence of the Library. That probably for River, at first seemed kind of cool, and then it's this is actually kind of...
That's actually
this is really horrible. What the fuck did you do to me?
I guess I should say that. We both watched that episode in preparation for this one, the Silence in the Library / Forest of the Dead, two-parter from Series 4 with David Tennant. Great episode, one of the best of Revived 2, one of Stephen Moffat's best. Definitely the best River Song story. It's really good. Alex Kingston is great in that. But in the moment, that episode, all the emotions of it played perfectly. But knowing what we know now, River being stuck in that computer world, that would be hell to her.
Yeah, that's I don't know, even I remember thinking at the time that was that's just not a... This is not a great solution to this problem, Doctor. Let's keep her alive forever as this bit of data on a hard drive in this fucking library that's inhabited by these monstrous shadow creatures that nobody else is ever going to visit that library ever again.
And yeah, and it's and I think it worked in that episode when we didn't have any knowledge of what was to come.
Perspective on the River relationship.
And Stephen Moffat obviously didn't know if he was even going to get to do more with her, because Alex Kingston was, a guest star.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that he did, and I think, as you said, coming back around and putting a cap on that is very smart.
Yeah, it's nice that it's like, okay, because then, hopefully, we're never going to see River Song again. Like, this is such a, she is dead and buried, and, obviously time travel, but I don't care, she's dead and buried.
Yeah, and literally her last words are, spoilers, goodbye, honey. So and her first words on the show are, hello, sweetie. Or not honey, it's sweetie, sorry. But yeah. And so it really does feel like it's bookending, and, Alex Kingston did a really good work on this show over the years she was on it, and I'm, better to go out relatively on top. And
yeah.
A couple of rough moments in her later appearances. She was unnecessary in Angels Take Manhattan, for instance.
Yeah.
But overall, I was satisfied with this, and I hope that's the ending to the character, not because I dislike the character, but because, with most characters, you reach a point where there's nothing more to do with them, and it's better to leave them alone.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That was our problem with Amy and Rory this season.
Yeah.
We will talk about that later.
Yeah.
So, yes. So that's that, and then the Doctor decides he's going to go into his own time stream, and you have problems with this, go.
Well, do you even need to say why you would have a problem with someone walking into their, time stream that is, their entire life, all they've, because for him, his entire life, because he's constantly traveling through time, this, condensed in this, one portal that takes him to this crazy world where his, fake regeneration doubles walk by really fast so you can't see their faces. It's that doesn't make sense. Wouldn't that just, immediately collapse in on itself? I don't know, you can't... that is the greatest paradox of all time, because he would literally be existing twice at every single point in his entire life. And, we have somewhat well established. It is some Doctor Who episodes have gone against it, but it's a pretty reliable thing that you cannot have two of the same thing or person touch. That will cause a big explosion of time energy. Sometimes a tiny explosion of time energy, but usually it kills everybody involved.
Yeah.
And so, doing that on that scale, boy, I think the Doctor would have just imploded the entire universe by going into his own time stream. If you thinking about how Doctor Who time travel usually would normally work, that is the result of what that would be. It seems like.
What I think,
because he was fucking dying from the paradox of even being near his own time stream. He was on the ground being the paradox. It's if you jump inside the goddamn thing, I don't think it works like the eye of the fucking storm. I'm pretty sure it's like poison. It's going to completely eradicate you.
Yeah, and I anticipate we will learn at least some more about this. If not, I don't think they can satisfactorily explain it all away. Yeah. But basically, once Doctor says his goodbyes to River, that's the end of the story of the episode. Once Clara goes in, the adventure of the episode, the story, the plot is resolved. Mm-hmm. And from here on out, once he goes into his time stream, we're doing setup for next year.
Yeah.
Or later this year, I guess.
Yeah.
And so, at that point, this episode, has a cliffhanger at the end, but the actual plot of it does resolve with Clara going in and the Great Intelligence being defeated in that way. But now we're setting up more, and we're going to learn about, what his greatest secret actually is. And this is to me the hardest hitting part of the episode, because I like some of the revelations, or the big revelation we get at the end, and I'm really interested by seeing what comes of this. He goes in, he rescues Clara. There's a really nice scene there where he's talking to her, and they bring back the sort of motif of the leaf, which is something I liked from Rings of Akhaten. Yeah. And he saves Clara, and then we meet John Hurt. And this is when I talked about earlier about how, this episode is tackling the name of the Doctor concept in an interesting way. That's to me what we get here, where he's talking about how.
Well, I don't know if they tackled it, because you don't know anything about this other Doctor.
I know.
They bring up the idea of it, but they don't. I don't feel like they do anything with the idea.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm interested by the idea, and I want to see what comes next. And they obviously are going to do more with it, because it would be unfair to say this is the last we're going to hear of any of this. Because as you said, we know John Hurt is in the next episode. Mm-hmm. And we know there are going to be multiple Doctors in the next episode, not just John Hurt, the Doctors we've seen before, because of David Tennant, and there could be more that have been kept secret. Who knows? Probably not. Probably not. Yeah.
I feel pretty safe in saying that's not going to happen. But.
Which is too bad, but oh well.
Yeah.
In any case, this is so. I like the thematic idea here that is presented of the Doctor saying it was never, my greatest secret was never my name. my name doesn't matter. What's important is the name I've chosen for myself. It reflects who I am, and what you're seeing there is the period of my life when I abandoned that. And I think we'll definitely talk theories here in a second.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of really interesting directions where they can go with that because, this is something Matt Smith does so well in this episode, is portraying just the age of the Doctor and the totality of his life. And I think looking at this aspect of some of the self-loathing he has within himself and seeing it physically manifested could be really interesting, whether it's the Valeyard or, Valeyard. Okay. I've only read it. I have not seen the episodes. Valeyard?
Yes, Valeyard.
Okay. Whether it's that, whether it's a missing Doctor, we shall see. There are interesting places they can go, and I even like how they turn the phrase "name of the Doctor" as the last line of the episode before John Hurt turns around and kind of
get this really like Quentin Tarantino-y introducing John Hurt as the Doctor, even though the Doctor just said that this guy abandoned the name of the Doctor, so that's not introducing John Smith.
What annoyed me there was that it was like they were trying to do story by having whereas I feel like the scene itself said everything you need to know about who this character is.
Yeah, I agree.
And we all know who John Hurt is.
Yeah.
For God's sake, if he just turns around, it's okay. And then they could have him in the credits and say John Hurt as the Doctor, and they could have a question mark if they want. I don't know, but yeah,
that's Doctor Who question mark.
So what did you think of the ending?
I don't know, because I don't know where they're going with it, I guess. Like, it's a weird thing where I don't... Because, like I said, I like the idea they present, but since they haven't done anything with it, I can't say anything about it. It's like, I don't know if I will agree with their interpretation of this kind of stuff going forward with, like, what and who John Hurt is going to be and what they're going to do with that. I have no idea. So... I thought it's an interesting setup, but I like that it's an interesting setup, and I can't comment on setup, I guess.
Yeah. I liked it. I just, again, I'm really interested by where it's going. I like the beats it played, and I did think it played into the larger themes of the episode, and while it is definitely a cliffhanger, and it does not resolve in any way here, it really does feel like this revelation organically flows out of what the episode was building towards. And it really hit me, and I think it hit me just because I never thought I would care about anything relating to this idea of the Doctor's name, but how Matt Smith played this scene, how it was written, and how they build up to it, like the notion of name and identity, I think that's an evocative idea, and I really liked the ending of this episode, and I thought it felt like the right emotional place to close the hour and the season. And I'm really interested to see the 50th anniversary special now.
Yeah, for me, when it ended, I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting.
Okay.
And then the episode ended.
Yeah. So, and do we want to talk theories now?
Yeah, I think this would have we have to do now.
Or do we want to finish talking about the episode, like over any other things we want to talk about the episode, and then move into other stuff?
Is there much else to say about the episode?
We can talk about some technical things here and there I wanted to mention, but...
I mean, sure. Like
okay.
What?
I'll just say overall, just kind of final thoughts on the episode as a whole. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest things I did want to mention is I noticed earlier about the atmosphere of just how good and tight the atmosphere in this episode is, and I think in terms of me watching it, why I liked it so much was just that I felt like it created such a total sense of the atmosphere of the episode that it was a lot of dread, it was a lot of despair, but more than anything else, it really felt like we were feeling the emotional state of the Doctor throughout, and the production and the acting and the music especially, which I want to talk about in a minute, really evoked that, and I just thought this episode was so tight in that regard that watching it flew by in a way that was really compelling in terms of me just being, when I talk about being glued to the screen, this episode definitely did that for me, just in that, there's some plot stuff that take you out of it here and there, but I just thought they really nailed tone so well in this episode, and that's something I feel like I have to mention in this episode because that's something that this season has struggled with, is tone, and I thought this was more than anything a promising sign for me, is that Stephen Moffat really got the tone right here, and the director Saul Metzstein, who has turned out to be he's done some really good episodes this year. He also did The Snowman and I believe Asylum with the Daleks, and those are also very well directed episodes.
Yeah,
and I really like that. And my biggest piece of praise for the entire episode, and we don't talk about this enough. We should. Murray Gold is a great musician, and this episode to me has the best single episode musical score of any of the revived Doctor Who episodes. The music in this episode is fantastic, and I wound up watching it with my studio headphones on my computer because I couldn't get it to play over the TV. And I was really happy I did that because the music is really great in this hour. It's almost entirely new. They do not use most older themes. I think they use the 11th Doctor theme once or twice, but it's a very sad sort of rearrangement. Everything here is original, and it's really fucking good, especially some of the music in those last couple scenes. And I think more than anything else, that elevates the story to places that I'm not sure it would go for me just on its own.
Yeah.
And I think, I when I talk about movies and TV shows in my own writing, I try to talk about music a lot, because I feel like that personally is my greatest emotional connection to a lot of movies and TV shows, is if you have really good music, that really helps me get into this stuff. I think it's an underrated art form. We don't talk about it enough as a whole, as a critical community. And I think for Doctor Who, Murray Gold has been doing at least since Lost went off the air. Lost would have been its only major competition, but this is so far away the best musical score on TV.
Yeah.
Series 7, I think as a whole was rough, but I think it probably had episode to episode, beat for beat, the best music of Revived Who.
Yeah.
Just because Murray Gold has built such a rich library of music, and he keeps expanding it. He's never resting on his laurels. And I think for Name of the Doctor really feeling like a transitionary episode, having so much new music and many new themes that they can explore in the future, he's just killing it, and I hope he stays with this show as long as he possibly can.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So, yes. I really do hope this is one of the episodes we get an uncut score for. Series 5 and Series 6 both had 2-disc soundtracks released that, at least for the finales, had complete scores, and I hope we get it here too, because and I hope that soundtrack comes out soon.
Yeah.
It feels like it should have been out already, because Series 7 has been airing so long.
Yeah.
But that's a problem we'll talk about soon. So I just wanted to mention that, really more than anything else, Name of the Doctor's score elevates it for me, and I think that's an important element to talk about, because these are all, parts of how the episodes get made, and really good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any complaint with that aspect of the episode. It's sort of the more clunky plotting stuff that I think falls flat for me.
Yeah, and I totally understand where you're coming from on all those. So we're just approaching it from different directions. I mean, this is something we're going to talk about on our Star Trek Into Darkness episode, where it will be a little reversed, but, the dynamic we have talking about Doctor Who is that I've seen some of the classic series, but I started with the Revived series, and I've watched all that, and that's kind of my connection. But your connection is you've seen 800 episodes.
Yes.
So we just naturally approach it from different directions. Yeah. Obviously, you spent a whole year of your life doing nothing but watching Doctor Who.
More or less, yes.
Yes.
So
I seem to remember you coming to school, but you were probably thinking about Doctor Who all day.
That is definitely true. That is definitely true.
All right, so let's talk theories.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, who do you think John Hurt is?
Who do I think he actually is? He is probably the Doctor who did all the bullshit in the Time War and defeated the Time Lords and the Daleks by whatever the moment and all that end of time bullshit, and then he revived into Christopher Eccleston, and all that Time War stuff means that he has abandoned the Name of the Doctor. That is what I think they're actually doing with it.
I think that is probably the most likely path they could go. I think we have to consider that Stephen Moffat has never done much with the Time War. That was Russell T Davies' thing, and he kind of let it be once he came out of the show. They've really never done much with it. But
I mean, he hasn't set up anything else either.
Right.
There's no real
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like they have been building up specifically to this, in the Stephen Moffat era.
Right. So I think, I think that's probably the most likely possibility, and I would be interested in seeing that. I think, we were talking about this yesterday when the episode aired, that I'm unsure how exactly they're going to do that, if that is the story they're going for.
Yeah.
Because it'd be a little tough to track that with the Christopher Eccleston and the David Tennant characters.
I mean, every single theory I have, there are problems with them. And I don't know if they're going to be able to come up with something that I have not thought of already, but the big problem with that one is that the way the 9th and the 10th, and even the 11th Doctor, the way they react to the Time War is not this, that version, and this is not something they've ever done with the Regenerations, is that version of myself is, disowned, in a sense, and it's what he did is not what I did, because, they have those memories, and they have those feelings, the attitude Matt Smith has towards that incarnation of himself in that scene he was sort of confrontational and sort of felt very angry at him in a way that's that is not Matt Smith in some Matt Smith's Doctor in some way, when it's they are the same person, and he's a young, presumably a younger version. I don't know.
And I didn't quite get that out of that. I definitely think you can look at periods in your life as physically manifested here and have that confrontational distaste for yourself, and I think it can still be something that you own up to.
But I don't think the Doctor would do that, though. The Doctor so owns what he does.
But I don't know if this is necessarily disowning it. I think it's he's.
I mean, I don't know. That's definitely what it felt like to me. Like this, like he is not me kind of thing.
Well, I think he's saying that this was a period in my life where I wasn't my best, and I think because the scene is so slight and there's so much more to do with it, we'll see where they're going with it. But it's not like he has forcefully forgotten this. Matt Smith knows exactly what it is. The 11th Doctor does. It's not like he's actively repressed it to the point where he doesn't recognize it. He's just saying, this is something where I think they can. There will have to be a lot more explanation for it, but I think they can make that track.
I think they can do it. I think that's what they are going to do. I'm saying it's like it feels, because that's obviously not what they were intending to do with the 9th and 10th Doctor. It feels a little weird because the 9th and 10th Doctor were so informed by the Time War thing. I guess that's like.
But I think you could also retcon that in a way that would be interesting and say that they were so deeply scarred by what they had recently done, but they were also, when we meet them in the revived series, they were actively trying to become their best again. And I think that's the arc of the Christopher Eccleston character, and that's definitely the arc of the David Tennant version. Mm-hmm. And that's what Russell T Davies did best with those characters. Was in terms of really analyzing that psychological damage, and I think that would be an interesting area to return to. And it does make me, if that's where they're going, it really is too bad they have not gotten Christopher Eccleston back.
Yeah,
because getting David Tennant back now makes total sense. You need him if this is where they're going with it. I feel like that was going to help. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Christopher Eccleston was just so good at portraying that.
Yeah, and then if that is what they're doing, and that's what they're going to do. Like that, of all the theories I can come up with, that is the only one I see as being particularly plausible. But Paul McGann as the 8th Doctor, we have assumed since the revived series began that the 8th Doctor is the one that pulled the trigger, that he's the one that was in the Time War, because at the beginning of Rose, the first episode of the revived series, you definitely get the sense that the 9th Doctor he's recently regenerated into the 9th Doctor. And so I've always liked the idea of the Paul McGann Doctor being the one in the Time War, especially listening to a bunch of the Big Finish audio dramas that Paul McGann has been involved with. The way that Doctor evolved to this, like, kind of being in this very dark place, it made so much sense that Doctor would be in the Time War and that Doctor would be able to do those kinds of things. And I would fucking love to see Paul McGann get a fair shot of playing his Doctor on the screen. Like it's because I'm glad that 1996 TV pilot movie thing did not end up creating a series, because I don't think that would have been a good series. But I think Paul McGann has shown through the Big Finish stuff that he understands the Doctor, that he has a very interesting interpretation of the character, and that I really, really like Paul McGann. And he has said numerous times in the media that he would be happy and willing to come back and be on the show. It's like, so bring him back. It's like, have him be the one there. Like, have him be the Doctor that they have sort of disowned in some way, because he's the one who did all the bad shit or something. Like, if that's what you want to do, fucking put Paul McGann there, and I have some connection to that, because I've thought of him as being the 8th Doctor for so long.
But that is an incredibly minor subset of the fandom.
Yeah, but, I mean, kind of.
You have to consider how many people have even seen the 1996 TV movie that still watch Doctor Who.
I think anybody who has any serious involved joy that they get from classic Who likes the 8th Doctor. Like, they may not love the movie. I mean, a lot of people like the movie a lot, but they have affection for and appreciate the 8th Doctor. If you are someone who likes classic Who a lot, I think that is certainly, if you say you are a fan of classic Doctor Who, that you acknowledge and have affection for the 8th Doctor, because you have affection for all the Doctors, effectively. I think that's sort of the attitude the show cultivates.
Okay, but I mean, that's the only way to know the 8th Doctor is to actively seek out this extra material, and I think
that's true. But I'm not saying they need to build on the stuff, because you don't even need to make the Big Finish audio stuff canonical or anything. But you don't. The point is, you don't even need to know that Paul McGann had a TV movie. You don't even for this whole show. You don't need to know that this entire classic series even existed. But if you do, it would be a cool thing to bring him back, to allow him to give his version of the 8th Doctor, have it be something that the fans have some sort of connection to, recognize from the history of the show. I think that would be awesome. Because also, if this is what they're doing, now because we have gone on the assumption that it was the Eighth Doctor that did most of the Time War stuff for so long that it's like now you have to sort of like retcon this sort of unspoken. This is what we believe has happened. Like this, like non-canonical, like extra comic books and stuff have been written that basically have the Eighth Doctor involved in the Time War that would then have to be retconned and that kind of stuff. That seems really unnecessary to me. I don't know. Like again, we don't know for sure that that's what they're doing. That's probably what they're going to do, though. So
probably, but you know.
And also another weird thing, if that's what they're doing, is that how the fuck are we numbering the Doctors now? Because if there was an extra generation, that would mean that the Ninth Doctor is the 10th. Like, regardless of whether or not he thinks of himself as the Doctor, that's his like 10th incarnation, then 11th, and then now we would be on the 12th Doctor.
Yeah. And it wouldn't surprise me if that is Stephen Moffat's intention, because he could be trying to do something in the 50th anniversary special to talk about or confront the idea of the 13 regenerations being it.
Well, 12 regenerations, 13 incarnations.
Okay. Right,
that's right. You regenerate 12 times, you have 13.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So they could be, if they're pushing it to a degree where Matt Smith is now the penultimate Doctor.
Yeah.
You know, they could do something with that in the 50th special or this year's Christmas special if they want that to be part of the 50th anniversary, which would make sense. That's a kind of thing you could do.
Surprise me, yeah. Because it has been a thing sort of in the back that like Revived 2 has never, to my knowledge, ever brought up is that idea that that's something that's purely from Classic Who, and they haven't like really acknowledged that or tried to say like we're following those rules or like we're going to say that that's bullshit for whatever reason.
It's something I'm guessing Stephen Moffat, just the kind of writer he is aware of.
I'm certain they're aware of it, but
well, it just seems like the kind of thing that would appeal to him with the kind of stuff he does on this show. Something he would like to play with. So we'll see. That's basically my basic theory is that it'll do something with the Time War too. But I'm interested to see where it goes, and I don't think that's a guaranteed that's it, because as you said, there's some issues with that.
Yeah.
And it could be something else. They could be even going deeper. It could be something that wasn't from the middle of his life. They could be trying to go back to something on Gallifrey. I don't know.
Yeah. So other theories of who John Hurt is, ones that I think are very implausible. This is my favorite one. This is one I wish it was. It's not going to be it because it would be too cool if it was it. Is that John Hurt is a Valeyard, and that is like. And because that is, as soon as I saw him and like had this idea of the Doctor has this secret of like, that's what his fucking secret is that he knows, because who the Valeyard is from the Sixth Doctor era, the Trial of the Time Lord. There was this character, the Valeyard, who was like, he was sort of like the guy doing all the trial stuff to the Doctor. Then at the end of that whole season, basically, he was revealed to be either, like, actually, like, it's kind of vague, he's either actually a future incarnation of the Doctor, like, is either 12th or his 12th generation or whatever, or he is a potential future version of the Doctor. Either way, he is a future Doctor that is evil, and the Trial of the Time Lord stuff is, I think he's trying to get the Six Doctors, like, remaining regenerations or whatever. And, like, that's... So the Doctor knows that there is this potential of this evil version of himself in the future, somehow. And he knows that, and I know that. So it would have been really interesting if the secret was not something necessarily that the fans would have no idea what it was, but it was something that nobody else would have any fucking clue of, because the only people who know about the Valeyard are the Doctor and the Master, and maybe some other Time Lords. And that's it. So it's like, the Doctor would be the only person who would know about that, and he's sort of carrying this knowledge of, I've done bad shit in the past, but I know I become outright, like, despicably evil sometime in the future. And it's like, and what would that be like? That would be fucking cool. That's not what it is.
I don't think it's completely outside the realm of possibility that they could do that.
It's not what it is.
I think John Hurt definitely is the kind of actor you would hire to do something like that. I think
it's not what it is.
We'll see.
I'm saying now, I would be immensely surprised if that's what they're doing. I'm almost 100% sure they are not going to do the Valeyard, even though that would be really fucking cool, because it is kind of like the 12 Regenerations thing. It is something from Classic Who that has sort of just been hanging like this plot thread that just never got resolved in Classic Who in any way. That's still there, that they're probably never ever, like, realistically really going to do much with. But they could, and that would be cool, but I don't think they're going to do it here. Like, I just don't...
They did name drop Valeyard in this episode.
Yeah, they did bring that up earlier, but that almost makes me feel like it's probably even less likely that he's the Valeyard in some way. Like, I don't know. Like, because I didn't even... The way that whole sequence is structured with, like, being in his own time stream, I didn't necessarily get the sense that the John Hurt Doctor was a future incarnation of the Doctor. Like, I think if he was the Valeyard, that conversation would have felt different about how the Doctor was talking about his future self.
This definitely felt like it was a past self.
Yeah, exactly. Which is really weird. Another, like, weird plot thing. If you go into your... I mean, I get, we haven't seen future incarnations of the Doctor, obviously. If you go into your own time stream, presumably his future generations are going to be there. And Clara's like, I've seen every version of you. Like, I've seen 11 faces. And it's like, but who's that guy over there? It's like, what do you mean 11 faces? It's like, there should be probably, presumably, about 13. Or if we break that rule, fucking 20 million Doctors. Who knows?
Yeah. So, any other theories?
Okay, this is the absolute least likely one. Also the one that would be fucking awesome. That goes, like, okay, I guess it doesn't go as far back as the Valeyard, but is way more involved than it, is that in the 7th Doctor era, Andrew Cartmel was this guy who was like, he was sort of like the showrunner at the time, at least he was like coming up with most of the stories, and had this, what the Doctor Who fans now call the Cartmel master plan of what he was setting up over the course of the last 2 7th Doctor seasons, of slowly seeding this idea that there's, like, he brought sort of this... It's very similar actually to what Stephen Moffat's doing now, of trying to bring mystery back into the character of the Doctor and who he really is. And the idea there that has since been sort of explored in non-canonical, like, expanded universe stuff, is that the Doctor is this sort of reincarnation of an ancient Time Lord that is known as the Other, who is sort of part of the trinity of Time Lords that founded Time Lord Society, along with him, Rassilon, who's sort of the governor, and then Omega, who he was sort of the scientist dude who created the tag, like the Eye of Harmony and all that stuff. And I thought all that's, like... I'm kind of glad that stuff did not get canonically, like, that's what it is in Doctor Who, because it's such a cool idea, but it probably would... It's like, sort of too cool of an idea to be able to actually pull off in execution, in a way. So it's like, I don't think if they had, like, really done that, I think it would have been really awesome, but, like, the possibility of that is really cool. And so, like, this idea of the Doctor being somehow a reincarnation of an ancient Time Lord, and, like, at least the 7th Doctor having had some of those memories and knowledge of that fact, like, that's who John Hurt could be. That's not who John Hurt is, but that's who John Hurt could be. Because that would be before he would even ever have taken the name of the Doctor, so he's not the Doctor, he's the Other. So there we go.
I think it's possible. Maybe we'll see.
No, it is... Like, if Stephen fucking Moffat came back and was like, you know what? I'm finishing the Cartmel master plan, and then we bring Ace back and turn Ace into a Time Lord because that was another part of it. Fuck yeah. Like, let's do it. Let's it's been a lot. It's fucking... We left it hanging back in 89. Let's finish it in 2014. Let's do this. Cartmel master plan. There we go.
I want to see it.
Yeah, they're not. No,
okay.
They're not doing that.
All right. Well, any last thoughts on the name of the Doctor before we talk about Series 7 in totality?
I don't know. It was definitely a very interesting episode, and it makes me curious to see exactly what they're going to do with the John Hurt character being his in-between incarnation that was involved with the Time Lord. The Time Lord, that is definitely who he is. But
all right, one last question.
Okay.
We talk a lot about you don't like the Wedding of River Song. Was this better or worse?
Oh, God, yes. I mean, it's way better than the Wedding of River Song, where that episode as a whole was a complete mess and had probably the single most disappointing, like, solution to a mystery I have ever seen. Like, seriously, him being the Tessellite is, like, the worst answer to a built-up mystery ever. That was so bad. Still sort of boggles the mind that he did that in the first place, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I still have my theory that was a dumb course correction that he made midway through the season.
I think that is likely, but...
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
I know, it's terrible. And I'm not saying...
That might be why it happened, but...
That's worse for me.
Yeah, exactly.
I am criticizing here. But anyway, yes.
There's one other thing about the name of the Doctor. I don't know how we did not mention this, is that in the whole sequence where Clara is going to all the past points of the Doctor's life, they have the William Hartnell thing where at the teaser, that was the most interesting part of the teaser to me, was like, and I thought they actually I wish they didn't show as much, like actually using like voice clips and stuff from William Hartnell, but seeing this security cam of William Hartnell body double type dude and a Susan body double type lady going into a Type 40 time capsule, because they're not TARDISes, they're time capsules, but going in there and sort of like seeing that, and then I thought that was like a cool thing, and then but then like Clara pops up, and then like when that whole scene gets really fleshed out at the end, you find out that like Clara tells the First Doctor, don't pick that Type 40 time capsule, like pick this one because the navigation is broken or whatever. She says it's like the idea that this somehow is what caused the Doctor to pick the Type 40 time capsule that he picked. No,
I don't like that either.
It's dumb. And as far as I'm concerned, it's completely non-canonical anyways, because in the Seventh Doctor era, we learned that one of the reasons the Doctor left Gallifrey in the first place is that he took the Hand of Omega. That was like this, like kind of what he helped Omega create the Eye of Harmony in the first place, because he thought it was too dangerous to have in Time Lord hands, and he took it, and that's why it's in 1963 at Coal Hill's school, is because he buries it down there, and then he revisits it in remembrance of the Daleks.
Nice.
So that is definitely why Stephen Moffat is not finishing the Carmel Master Plan, because that was a key component. Because the only way the Doctor would the reason the Doctor would do that is if he was the other in the first place who knew about the Hand of Omega and knew how to take it and stuff. So,
all right,
yeah. So, anyways, that scene is dumb, but don't worry, it's not canonical because it doesn't fit cooler. It doesn't fit better episodes, so it gets overridden as far as I'm concerned.
I agree, and I didn't mind Clara just being around and seeing the other Doctors and stuff. I thought that's kind of a neat idea. Yeah. But her actually interacting with William Hartnell and it changing the destiny of the entire show, that just bothered me because, seniority, man. William Hartnell was there way before you, Clara.
Yeah.
There would be no Doctor Who without him. Mm-hmm. So, you don't get to do that, Clara. But other than that was a slight hiccup. But other than that, I like this episode. Let's talk about the season as a whole.
Yeah.
All right, so Sean, as a whole, now that we have seen all 14 episodes of Series 7,
or 13 plus
if you're a
1,
fucking idiot,
if that's or
15 if you want to be technical and put in Daughter of the Widow in the wardrobe.
Well, that's the Christmas special, because I don't count Snowman as a Christmas special, but outside of that, Christmas specials are not part of seasons, they're special episodes.
Okay. All right, so Sean, what did you think as a whole of Doctor Who Revived Series 7 overall Season 33?
This was a weird season of television. Ignoring Doctor Who, this was a weird fucking season of a television show.
I think that's where this discussion has to start and end, is that, more than anything else, the way this season was scheduled and produced and aired was so clunky, and I think it was such a hindrance to the storytelling that it even makes me question how much of this is actually the creative people on the show versus the scheduling at BBC.
Yeah.
Obviously, there were creative mishaps this year. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, doing this dumbass decision to, let's bring Amy and Rory back for a 5-episode mini-season.
Yeah.
And then we can, in a technical sense, yes, Series 7 is a 14-episode chunk.
Yeah.
But really, as a season as we understand it to be,
as a mini-season, as a form of narrative.
Yes.
That sort of seasonal structure.
There are two within this season. Because we have a 5-episode chunk that was fairly disappointing, even though I think only 2 of the episodes were outright disappointment, bad, whatever.
Yeah.
But that was unnecessary. We wait a couple of months, we get the Snowman, and it's good, but there's no momentum out of it because we have to leave again.
Yeah.
Then we finally get to Bells of St. John. It's also good. We start another season, and this chunk was on the whole had some good parts.
Had some good episodes. It has some bad episodes, but I think if you're just cutting this half of the season out from the first 5 episodes, it's more good than it is bad.
Oh, absolutely, it is. But the problem is now we get to the Name of the Doctor, and it feels like it feels like we got a very small amount of Doctor Who this year, even though technically this is the longest season at 14 episodes of Revived Who. So it just doesn't feel right, because it's just the way it aired was so odd, where even when we got an extended chunk of Doctor Who, it felt so slight.
Yeah. And then even then it's kind of even weirder now with the Name of the Doctor that it ends on a cliffhanger on top of all that stuff, which is the only season of Doctor Who so far to do so.
Yeah.
It's just also just kind of this weird, okay.
Yeah.
So now I don't even know how I feel about the season as a whole, because now, narratively, the 50th anniversary special will be a part of this season. So it's going to be a 14-episode plus 1 TV movie thing.
And who knows how the next Christmas special is functioning?
Yeah.
Series 8 will... I really hope they don't do anything like this next year.
This just fucking...
I would love nothing more than if Series 8 starts next March, runs 13 episodes, and is done.
Yeah.
Because it is, Series 6 having the break in the middle was not a huge hindrance, but it was an issue where those first 7 of Series 6 built up to their ending really well.
Yeah.
And then there was kind of a problem with momentum because of that break, even if you watch it through now. Because then they kind of have to start up again.
Yeah, when you watch Good Man Goes to War and Let's Kill Hitler back-to-back, it feels really awkward because it's just like... The ending of Good Man Goes to War feels like the Doctor's going to go off and do something really cool. The beginning of Let's Kill Hitler is like... Yeah, he just, pops up again. And he's he's back on Earth and picks everybody up.
Well, and then they have to build to another finale, but then that last half isn't all that serialized where... Series 6, the last half, has a very clear split where the character stuff is brilliant and very well done, and the plot stuff just never builds and then is kind of just, it's there. Mm-hmm. But, and overall, I think Series 6 is a darn good season. But this is... Yeah, it's a weird way to air it. It's so weird to think that the technical premiere this year was Asylum of the Daleks.
Yeah.
I mean, that aired how many months ago now? That's...
Fucking forever.
Yeah.
Like how many episodes of WGTC Radio is that ago? That feels like
the
beginning of our goddamn show was Asylum of the Daleks, for fuck's sake.
This is episode 47 we are recording right now. I'm going to go look this up. You keep vamping.
Okay. Yeah, so this season... Yeah, the split... And it's not even just the because it's a weird... You had the first 5 episodes, then you had to wait for the Christmas special in the middle, and then wait again after that for then the last chunk of the season to pick up again. So it wasn't even like Series 6 where you just had that one middle split.
Okay.
Did you find it?
Episode 12 of this podcast was the premiere this year. We are on episode 47. We have done... How many podcasts is that in between? 47? 35, yes. You're the math guy on the podcast.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. It took, for 14 episodes, it took 35 podcasts, and we took about a month off there because of a family emergency in my life.
Yeah.
So, it took 40 weeks for this season to air.
God, it's fucking so long. This season has run the course of WGTC Radio as of so far.
Yes.
For fuck's sake. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, makes absolutely no sense. It's just weird.
Yeah. So, that's the only vocabulary I have to describe this episode. Or the season. It's so weird. I have such weird mixed feelings about the season as a whole because it's just it feels so fractured and inconsistent. Even within terms of it's inconsistent from episode, and even a lot of the episodes feel internally inconsistent and sort of the highs and lows. There are very few episodes that it's I think Nightmare in Silver is the only one that I'm and maybe Hyde is another one where it's consistently good with not very many problems, whereas a lot of the other ones Rings of Akaton has a really spectacular last act and some good stuff in the first act, but its middle part is complete mess, and it's that's how a lot of the episodes feel. It's there's some cool stuff in a lot of these episodes, but most of them are not ones that I would feel excited to watch again just because you'd have to get through all the bad shit in them.
I am so weirdly excited to buy the Series 7 Blu-ray box set when it comes out because I want to see what it's like to hold this, because that'll be 15 episodes because it'll have last 2 years ago's Christmas special.
Yeah.
Doctor the Witch in the Wardrobe, or whatever the fuck that was called.
That's what it was called.
The second worst episode Stephen Moffat ever wrote, and hold that in my hands and just be this was actually a chunk of episodes. And then, I'm so interested to sit down and watch this season all the way through like that and see what that's even like.
Yeah.
When you can just do it in a straight shot. How does that even play?
Yeah, with, how clunky it is from going from Good Man Goes to War to Let's Kill Hitler from Series 6. How weird is it going to be going from Angels Take Manhattan right to Snowman, then right to Bells of St. John? That'd feel you're getting, narrative whiplash because of, the awkward jumps in time between those episodes.
It's just so fucking weird, and I think we have to go back to the start. The 5-episode chunk with Amy and Rory was the biggest creative mistake they made this year.
Yeah, it was one of the biggest creative mistakes of New Who. There's just this idea of taking these companions that we have, just you completely did everything you needed to do with them before with the episode before Wedding of River Song. Even within Wedding of River Song, they felt a little bit unnecessary because those weren't even the real Amy and Rory. It was fine they were there.
Yeah.
But it was you had this weird sense in that episode of these are not the characters. It's like we did everything we need to do with the characters, and so then at the beginning of this season now, you suddenly like dig them back up with Asylum of the Daleks, give them this weird like they almost divorce thing that just never comes back up again, and then give them no new character arc to have across these 5 episodes. This is like
and then try to pull an arc out of thin air in Angels Take Manhattan.
Exactly. Like they have some stuff in Asylum of the Daleks that like deals with their relationship that then like just doesn't go anywhere. Then like the next 3 episodes don't do anything, and then like Angels Take Manhattan is like, well, this is the last episode for these companions, so fuck you, Rory, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, we should say Karen Gillan and Arthur Darvill were as good as ever.
Yeah, it's not their fault.
Yeah, and I still, they were pleasant to watch and they were fun to watch, but it just felt like something was missing.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't anything left interesting to do with them, and I think the closest the show came in those was in Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, having Rory's father, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's true.
And Rory got to do some interesting stuff there, and I think that episode is, of those 5, that one uses them the best.
Yeah.
They really do feel like they are integral to that story. They're not just extra companions. And Town Called Mercy, they don't need to be there.
Yeah.
That just he doesn't even need companions in that episode. And then Power of Three, I mean, to be fair, Power of Three is supposed to be all about them, and for 2/3, that's a really good episode. And then the last third is F- territory. I mean, it is bad.
Yeah, it's...
And, so I think it's just too bad because I don't think inherently bringing back Amy and Rory had to be this major mistake. If they wanted to be a little more creative, but even when they tried, they couldn't quite get it, like in Power of Three. I think Power of Three, if they had cleaned up that last act, that could have been a valuable extra Amy and Rory episode.
Yeah.
Because they are trying to do something about them on their own, and those were kind of interesting ideas. But even then...
It feels like you're treading the same territory. Like, it didn't feel like it was covering new ground with those characters to me.
No, but what I was going to say is that even then, it doesn't track with what happens in Angels Take Manhattan, because what Power of Three is showing is that Amy and Rory are capable and happy on their own outside of the Doctor, and then it's like Angels Take Manhattan is supposed to be this Greek tragedy of, well, you stayed on the TARDIS too long, you guys are fucked.
Yeah.
Although you're not totally fucked, but the internet's going to pretend like you're Anne Frank or something.
Yeah, it's like, it's this sad character, like, death for these characters, like, and they gotta live their whole life in this cool past, like, they probably got rich because they had knowledge of the future, it's like...
They both lived long, happy lives, they had a kid,
Yeah, Amy became a writer, it's just like,
Yeah. Oh well, but anyway, I mean, and we have to talk about that because Angels Take Manhattan on its own is not a bad episode by any stretch of the imagination. It has lots of good scenes, really good use of the angels, I think. And overall, it's a good episode, and I think it does really some things very well. And the actual Amy's last scene with the Doctor is dynamite. That is a really well played scene. That might be Karen Gillan's just best piece of acting on the show. It's fantastic. Yet, from an arc standpoint, that episode is so not earned that when I saw it, and that was when I was still writing about the show, that bothered me so much. I just could not get into that episode because they were playing on arc stuff that never happened.
Yeah.
And really that 5-episode chunk, to me, more than anything, it feels like you could take Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, Town Called Mercy, and Power of Three, put them in a blender, and put them in any order.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
They
did not need to air in that order. They were just completely random. And the only reason Asylum with the Daleks needed to be first is because they were divorced at the beginning. You know? Other than that, Asylum with the Daleks also could have been. It feels like a premiere because it's a Moffat episode, but, just a weird 5-episode mini arc, and one that, even though, the batting average on that, 3 of the 5 are good episodes.
Yeah.
But it's such a rough stretch of Doctor Who, and I remember you and I being so kind of disheartened by the end of that, where we were talking about it every week, and because it was sad because Asylum with the Daleks was a great start.
Yeah, it definitely was. And that 5-episode chunk was really weird too. I remember us podcasting about it. There was this weird sense of them building things up, trying to build things up subtly. Like the Doctor was getting consistently darker and darker across the episodes. That just ended up being these really strange narrative coincidences. That's oh, okay. I guess the Doctor's just acting out of character. There's absolutely no reason for it. It was so weird here.
Didn't we ultimately conclude it felt like A Town Called Mercy was meant to air before Dinosaurs on a Spaceship? Because that's seeding him becoming darker in that. But then we never do anything with it.
Yeah, it's really it was such a strange. I mean, it's sort of a pattern that carried through into the next half, but because they sort of repeated the problem again of with Name of the Doctor, it's there's a lot of really good stuff in the episode, but still a lot of the stuff, like with the Great Intelligence and with Clara, is not entirely earned. It's more earned than the stuff in Angels Take Manhattan, but like it's still not properly built up to. It feels like you could get these 2 half seasons that both like make the same mistakes for the same reasons, that they're too small and they didn't know what to do with it.
It's something Russell T Davies seasons encountered often at the end of their seasons, where it just felt they would build to these unbelievably big finales that were too big in the first place, but then didn't feel completely earned. But even more so here, because at least the Russell T Davies seasons are just 13 straight episodes.
Yeah,
this was problematic. So we had that 5-episode stretch, and I think we can definitely say that's the low point of this season. Those 5 episodes are a weird outlier. Snowman is really good, and then
barring the ending.
Yeah, barring the ending. Bells of St. John is consistently, I think, really good.
Yeah, it is. Other than Nightmare in Silver, the most consistent episode, like in this whole season, is Bells of St. John. Like, I don't absolutely love it, but it's a good episode, and like, there's nothing in it that is like, that's just fucking terrible. The worst thing in that is that Stephen Moffat does not have a great handling of how Wi-Fi works, and that's like, whatever. Yeah, you can pass that really easy.
That's definitely, that to me, that one feels like a good Russell T Davies era episode to me.
Yeah, definitely.
And then from there on out, there are some flaws, and we'll talk about that, but it just, the show got better once the Snowmen came along, and I think we enjoyed it more in this 8-episode chunk than we did before. And part of that was just having Jen Louise Coleman on the show, whether or not they did her character great. It was a new, fresh dynamic, and it definitely brought out new shadings in Matt Smith. And I think that's something that they definitely did well, is that having a new dynamic with him definitely allowed his performance to go in new directions, which is good.
Yeah, because it's sort of it's one of the most important things about Doctor Who is it constantly reinventing itself and bringing in new faces to sort of like revitalize the show. And that was one of the really frustrating things about the Stephen Moffat era so far, is that while Amy and Rory were really great companions, and I thought they managed to make them stay really relevant and do really interesting things with them in Series 6, New Who so far has picked up and dropped companions every single season. And so it's like Stephen Moffat with Amy and Rory was the first ones where it was like, we're keeping them for a long stretch of time. I think one of the main reasons it really works for Series 6 is because Rory was not really a companion in Series 5. Like, he was on and off in some episodes, kind of like Mickey. And then in Series 6, he was like a proper companion, so they had
Series 6 also did an interesting thing where they made Amy, they gave her an arc where she became very dark and had to come out of that, and they clearly had directions to go in, and I think they were totally valuable parts of the show in Series 6. And, it makes me sad when I go back and look at the God Complex, which is a fantastic episode, that's not their endpoint, because that is so clearly what they are building up to with the Doctor, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like, it was definitely like, even then with, like, well, I thought they like left them off in a good place, but I still remember feeling like they have been on for a little too long. Like they're starting to feel like dead weight, and we're like we need to shed these characters in some way and get a new companion in there.
Yeah,
and it was like, and that's what we thought was going to happen, and then they're back for the first half of this next season, and they maybe could have done, like, they certainly didn't have to make it the train wreck it was, but it's like they were just there too long. I think we needed a new companion at some point, and it was like and then when we finally got one, she didn't get a full season. Clara did not get a full season devoted to herself, and she didn't even get a proper good companion introduction episode, because her best introduction was in The Snowman, but then that conversion of the character dies, and then you have Bells of St. John, a completely different version of Clara that they do some stuff with, but Snowman went so heavy into developing that version of Clara, where she was more or less the point of view character for that entire episode. That was then doing the complete opposite with Bells of St. John just sort of felt awkward, and that's why her arc does not feel earned by the time she tries to sacrifice herself for the Doctor at the end.
Yeah, it's tough, and I think you have to wonder think about an alternate version of this series where she was a governess from 1800s London, and automatically I think that would make more sense with where the name of the Doctor goes, where just being exposed to this miraculous world would be even more miraculous to someone from there, and she would be more open to these things.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
I don't know. It's tough. This was an awkwardly structured season, to say the least.
Yeah. And
it's a clumsy season, and my biggest hope is that they're done with it. Hopefully the schedule for Series 8 is different. I mean, even if it's got a break in the middle, that's better.
Yeah.
That's not the end of the world. And
hopefully they figure out a cool way to use that break.
And And I think Stephen Moffat, I understand his impulse to get rid of the two-part episodes, but that was a mistake. And I think we can say unequivocally that was a mistake.
Yeah, like, at the very least, most unless he's figured out a good way to do it, you probably are going to want your finale to be a two-part episode. Like, I think Name of the Doctor was a good example of it did not, but that was also because it did not have any sort of, it didn't try to resolve a bunch of plot threads, like Wedding of River Song had to do.
Yeah.
Where it's that's one of the main reasons Wedding of River Song is such a mess, is because he tried to tackle so much and pack it into this one episode that just completely fell apart.
Yeah, and I would rather have an episode, a two-parter that's a little slow than a one-parter that is too fast to do anything right.
I agree, yeah.
And, there are definitely in Revive 2 so far some awful, awful two-parters, but not in the Stephen Moffat era. All the two-parters in the Stephen Moffat era are really fucking good.
Yeah.
So what's the, I don't know what his problem with it is. He found a better way to do them than Russell T. Davies did. He wasn't the guy who was having the problem with these.
Yeah.
So that's weird, and I think Series 8 definitely should bring them back. Just let the storytelling breathe a little more. And, and just let Doctor Who be Doctor Who, because you know what? When Doctor Who was just Doctor Who this year, it was good.
Yeah.
And it was often really good.
And really, having the pacing be a little slower and maybe a little sluggish, that is Doctor Who as far as I'm concerned.
True.
That the two-part episodes are about the length of a classic Doctor Who serial, so it kind of feels more because a lot of times the two-parters feel like the most memorable episodes for me. Stuff like the Silence of the Library and with the Human Nature, where
the family
of Blood, yeah.
Where the Doctor becomes a human.
Yeah, or the Doctor Dances from the first Doctor eras, or the Ninth Doctor era. Those are some of the best stories of Revive 2. So seeing, there being a risk of a bad two-parter, it's worth it for the risk of because when you have a really awesome two-parter, it's really fucking awesome.
Big Bang / Pandorica Opens, you could argue, is the high point of the series if you want. I mean, I think you and I are both partial sometimes to the Doctor's wife. But definitely as finales go, there can't be anything better than Pandorica Opens / The Big Bang. Mm-hmm. And that uses its 2-hour time slot to really, really work.
Yeah.
So I hope they do that, and I feel like now that they're past this season and they have Clara, and there's not any more transitions they have to do unless some crazy shit happens in the 50th anniversary special, they can hopefully just go back to doing the show. But, and we'll see. And, I'm very happy Matt Smith is back for another season. I would have been very sad if this had been his last one.
Yeah, that would have been a shame.
And I think he's proven he's got plenty of juice left in him. He can be around for as long as they want him to be. He's definitely not feeling stale in the slightest to me.
Yeah.
So
I see probably a couple of good 2 or more years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you can do more. So I would like to see him this season with Clara, and then maybe one last companion for him. I don't want him to be a 2-companion Doctor. That'd be a little weird.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see.
This season was.
Let's go episode by episode really quick.
All right.
I made little rankings here. I just put a quick episode grade by each one, just with my personal thoughts on it. But let's go episode by episode and just see what the batting average is for us. So, Asylum of the Daleks. This was a B+ for me relative on Doctor Who. Had some issues. Overall, a lot of fun. And when I think about it, and I actually looked this up, this is probably the second best Dalek episode they've done in Revive 2 behind Daleks in Season 1.
Yeah.
Because there've been a lot of rough Dalek episodes.
That's true.
The two-parter from Series 3, awful.
The
Daleks in Manhattan.
Yeah, I wanted to call it Angels Take Manhattan. I was like, that's not it.
It's Daleks in Manhattan, and it is one of the worst.
Yeah, that is a really. That might be when Stephen Moffat's thinking two-parters are not all they're cracked up to be. That might be those episodes that he's looking at that's making him think that way. Yeah, without a doubt.
But I thought Asylum with the Daleks was a really good and clever way to use them. This was the first Stephen Moffat Dalek episode we had gotten where he actually wrote it.
Oh,
so that was kind of fun to see him tackle the Daleks.
Definitely Asylum with the Daleks is one of the best episodes from the season. It's really consistent. It has some good action, some interesting ideas, and it was also really interesting. That was the most interesting aspect of the mystery they set up with the Jenna Louise Coleman character was, at the time, Jenna Louise Coleman was in that episode.
And we had no expectation.
She died at the end because she got turned into a Dalek, which that was a fantastic twist in the episode.
Yeah.
And you're I don't know how the fuck are they going to do this. This is really goddamn crazy.
Yeah. And I had forgotten about some of that stuff in it, and now that I think, this one might be one I would revise up to an A- relative to other episodes this season. I don't know if it's just a B+. It's a really good one.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Dinosaurs on a
watch again. I mean, I have watched it multiple times. But.
Yes. Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. I am partial to this one. I really love it. It just kind of appealed to my Doctor Who sensibilities, and I really liked it. It's a B+ for me. It's definitely not it's a B episode, but it is gleefully a B episode.
Yeah,
and it does really good stuff with Amy and Rory. The last really good Amy and Rory story that they did. And there's dinosaurs, and they're on a spaceship.
Yeah, I remember, I didn't I never thought that episode was bad, but I thought it was more good, okay, not as good as Asylum of the Daleks, but did some fun stuff. But it had the most memorable part of the episode. Obviously, is the part where the Doctor puts a cripple in an escape pod and launches him into space and then blows him up with rockets, which is what I took most umbrage of at that episode. So it's
a great sentence to say.
Yeah, the main problem with that episode is mostly boils down into that side of it, where it's to be entirely fair, that should not drag that episode down too much. But when I remember that episode, that's what I think about, and I get this bad feeling in my stomach. So,
but it's just fun. It's funny. It feels like just a really good, solid episode of Doctor Who.
And then everybody cried when they killed the Triceratops, which is kind of pathetic.
All right, then we have A Town Called Mercy, and this is
Mercy,
and this is the definition of a C for Doctor Who, right? Where not bad, but really not good. Just it's so not memorable. It just kind of is there. It's got some good moments. It's got some bad moments. Very good production values, definitely.
Yeah, that's true.
It looks great.
I mean, most of the episodes of the season, there were a few effects here and there that were lackluster, but in general, the production design on Doctor New Who has been really great.
Yeah.
And with that episode, that was just an example of one of my most hated episodes of Doctor Who of all time is from the first Doctor era, The Gunfighters, which is the Doctor Who during the OK Corral. Apparently, during the OK Corral shootout. They get everything wrong about that. There are characters, completely missing, and, fake characters that they just fucking put in there, all for the sake of probably just having the joke of the Doctor, everyone expecting the Doctor as being Doc Holliday, which is fair enough, that's a pretty great joke. But, yeah, it is, so far, if you're writing an episode of Doctor Who, probably stay away from Westerns, because the track record's not great.
But, the thing is, with Town Called Mercy, I think it indicates there could be... I like that you have kept that joke up across 35 episodes.
Yeah. Yeah, I have. Never forget.
All right. Anyway, with the Western episode, it does not inherently limit... I think it shows there are things you could do with a Doctor Who Western. The problem with that episode is that the story is just lame, and the writer of that episode, Toby Whitehouse, just didn't get Western conventions.
Yeah.
It's just he doesn't get what's fun to do about a Western, and that was just awkward, where it feels like he had seen... Blazing Saddles, maybe? And so he knew Western conventions and how you could make fun of them.
Yeah.
But, it didn't really feel authentic in any way.
And it's always just kind of rough because the Doctor, as a character, obviously is not going to be this gunslinging type.
I thought they had a little bit of fun where he had his draw was the sonic screwdriver.
Yeah.
But
which, again, that's sort of the level of we want to make the joke that everyone mistakes the Doctor to be Doc Holliday. That's it's kind of fun, but not worth the episode.
All right, then we come to The Power of Three. And this was one, I gave it a C. I have no idea how to grade this episode, because for the most part, it's a good B+.
Yeah.
Got some good stuff. And then the episode, the ending is kind of just F. It falls.
It completely falls apart. It's just crumbles.
More so than any other episode this season, this is the stark difference between really good Doctor Who and what the fuck am I watching, where it's Power of Three is, all right, this is good, this is good, this is really good. Where the fuck are they? Where did that time portal come from? What is this ship? Who
is this guy?
Yeah.
What the fuck is going on anymore?
Do you want to say the last line for us again?
I can't even remember. All I remember is they title dropped Power of Three.
What they do is she says, they didn't understand the true meaning of cubed. It means the power of three.
God, it's the fucking... shit, that is one of the worst lines ever written in the history of the human language. It is so bad.
And I love the way they shoot it too, where they're walking away, and then Amy, Rory, and the Doctor all turn around while she says that in narration, and they it's this fun pose. It's that's what you would do on fucking Dora the Explorer.
Yeah,
right?
I know. It's this dumb show for fucking 3-year-old kids who can't even process the human language yet. God, that line is so fucking bad. What did you give that episode?
A C.
Fuck, super F-.
Okay.
That episode has good stuff in it. but no amount, like, that episode could be the invasion from the Patrick Troughton era, and then end with that line, and that episode would still be shit. That is how bad that fucking line is.
For reference, the
invasion is my favorite Doctor Who serial of all time, and if you fucking put that line at the end of it, it would just still be like, I'm out of here. Fuck you.
You would not.
I mean, it'd be even worse. It'd be even worse because it's like you go from some of the most amazing things ever put on television to the worst thing ever said on television. Like, back to back, your head would explode from the whiplash. It's just, God, that line is terrible.
All right, I definitely
the low point of the entire season is just that line. That is like, if you did a graph, there'd be this massive dip reaching into the bowels of the earth on the graph right when that line is said, and then probably shoot back up.
Yeah, I included. I gave it a C, but anything anything lower than a B, I include on the bad side when we do the final count. Okay. So it's okay. We can still because of that line. There's no way we can include it on the good side.
Oh yeah, that's for fucking sure.
All right,
man, that line.
Next is the Angels Take Manhattan, which I gave a solid B. Because
it's fair enough.
Yeah, I think it really does have some good stuff, and I think while it botches Rory in terms of not giving him a final scene, Rory gets great material in this episode, particularly his scene on the roof where he's planning to kill himself to save everyone, and Amy climbs up there with him. That is a fantastic scene, and it's as good an Amy-Rory scene as we've ever had, and I think they do some good ideas with the angels. The stuff of the angel being a Statue of Liberty is dumb.
Especially that they use it twice and then don't do anything with it. Like, they use it in the teaser and you're like, that's kind of cool. And then they bring it back up for, like, these was using the same set.
Oh,
they don't do anything.
One of the biggest problems with Angels Take Manhattan that I'd forgotten about until just now is that, remember how it has, like, a 10-minute pre-credit sequence?
Yeah, it's with, like, that one dude who, like, never pops up again.
Yeah, it's like they just, like, Stephen Moffat... It's like Stephen Moffat wrote a 30-minute episode, and he's like, fuck, I need to stretch this out.
Yeah.
Let's add a weird noir opening.
Yeah, or like he was just marathoning a bunch of fucking, like, old noir movies, and he's like, I want to do this, but I can't do this in this episode.
So, Angels Take Manhattan is a fun episode. I will definitely watch again when I watch through the season. Yeah. And, don't hate it by any means, but I think it leaves Amy and Rory in a dissatisfying place because it does not build up to what happens to them.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like, it's really unfortunate for that episode because it has so much good stuff, but then, like, the way and the thing the way it flops and the thing it flops is so disappointing because we've seen these characters for so long and become so attached to them that it not being a great send-off for them in, like, their final moments is really disappointing.
Yeah, but overall...
trying to drag that episode down further than it really deserves.
Yeah. But overall, we can include this on the good side, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Snowmen is another B+.
Yeah.
Where the good stuff in the Snowmen is, A-grade material.
Definitely.
Really good. This was our first Jenny Vastra Strax episode, and a lot of fun. I like those characters. Yeah. Strax is fucking funny in this one. And, it just, the Snowman has the disadvantage of ending with the ending from the first Pokemon movie.
Yeah, save the world with the power of love.
Yes.
Tears of children.
Yes, and Ian McKellen is sadly underused as the voice, and,
Well.
But, oh well. Snowman, overall, a good one. Good Christmas special. Better than The Doctor, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Yeah. The Doctor, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is a not great episode.
All right, then we go to Bells of St. John, and you and I have differences. We both like this one.
Yeah, you just like it more than I do, but I think we don't really, like, disagree. It's just it's the level of our affection.
Yeah, I gave it an A-. I really enjoyed this one when it aired, and it kind of renewed my affection for Who until we got to, Cold War. And so, really good one. Not too much to say there.
Yeah.
Fun episode.
Yeah.
Has the worst Doctor Who pun of the season, though, in that the Doctor forces Clara to say it.
Yeah. God.
Then we go
the dark times of Doctor Who that hopefully are now behind us of the era of Doctor Who puns, as the series shall now be known.
And the Rings of Akhaten is basically it's also an A- for me, and I think that kind of defines what an A- is, which is where for the most part you've got A-grade material. At the end, you've got some fucking A+ grade material. Yeah. But it's just got a couple issues, and none of them are huge, egregious, like this is terrible. But the middle is just a little clunky.
A little clunky. They just feels like they're sort of padding out, not quite sure how to get to the awesome ending, but the ending's really, really fucking great. Yeah.
Probably my favorite moment of the season.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. I mean, that moment, that speech is so good that it's almost sort of disappointing that speech is there, because that could be how that Doctor regenerates.
It would be a great regeneration,
yeah, like, I'm pretty sure I said that when we talked about the episode the first time, but it's like, that speech is so fucking great that, like, if when the 11th Doctor regenerates into the 12th Doctor, and then people on YouTube make tribute videos, like, that speech has to be in there.
Oh, yeah.
It's fucking one of the best moments of the Doctor, of that Doctor.
And if Power of 3 is cubed is the worst moment of the season, that's the best moment.
Yeah, yeah.
And I should also note, I think that episode did better by Clara than any other episode this season.
Yeah.
In terms of this version of Clara.
Yeah, it's the modern version.
Because we know the Doctor's speech is great there, but her speech she has at the end is dynamite also.
Yeah.
And
even if the logic behind the leaf somehow being more effective than all the Doctor's memories and then his potential future 1,000-year life, whatever.
But yeah, it's really
and
good.
all the potential lives he saves and all the power that would go into the letter.
Neil Cross was the discovery of this season for me as a writer. He is a really good Doctor Who writer, and the dialogue throughout Rings of Octan is great, and it's possibly even better in his next episode. We'll get to that soon. But because the next one is Cold War, I didn't quite know what to rank this one because it's just so meh.
It's so dull.
It feels like it doesn't exist. So I give it a C-. I don't think it doesn't do anything so offensive it deserves an F or anything.
Yeah, it's no Power of 3 in that regard, but yeah, it definitely is just a really dull, nothing episode that sadly had potential because you bring the Ice Warriors back. They had sort of an interesting alien type thing going on with him stalking the submarine and killing off people. Obviously, they did not understand how submarines work in that episode at all, which is a little unfortunate. But
all right, then we have Hyde.
Yeah,
and Hyde is another one I gave an A-, just because, and I don't think I can point to anything in particular. It's just that this episode, it's really, for me, it's really great throughout, but it's just not quite at the level of what I would give.
Yeah, there's nothing really, really phenomenal, but it's just a really fun, good episode, and it's a fun one to sit through.
It's one I look forward to rewatching when I get the box set.
Yeah, definitely.
So Hyde, really good. Neil Cross, please come back and write more Doctor Who.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what you're doing. You and Neil Gaiman just team up, and 2 Neils, you could be the new showrunners. Anyway, so if Hyde, then I don't know how to rank this episode. I just don't. Journey to the Center of the TARDIS.
Shares a similar problem with Power of 3, in a slightly different way, but...
Well, but even then, it's when I think about it in the whole, this probably just is an outright bad episode.
That's how I felt about it when I watched it.
I liked things about it when I was watching it, but it's like Prometheus. You can like things about it when you first see it, but then you think about it, and you never want to watch it again because it's got those 3 dumbass brothers. It's got the most psychopathic Doctor Who plot ever of pretending your brother's a cyborg.
Yeah, God.
Or no, an android, not even a cyborg. And
it's got the 3 brother side plot or subplot that is completely unnecessary, and then the ending is you literally hit a reset button and nothing in the episode happens. Well, apparently it did, but it didn't because Clara remembers it later. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
Let's go D+. Because I don't think it's an outright F because there are good scenes and there's good acting and
an outright F is like Love and Monsters, where there's absolutely nothing redeemable about the episode at all.
Love and Monsters is even poorly shot.
Yeah.
And you know what?
It's got poor production design, and most of the acting isn't good.
Right. Journey to the Center of the TARDIS has really good acting and very good production design and some interesting elements, but it's some really bad elements.
Yeah, the plotting structure and the pacing of it is not there.
All right, so that's Journey to the Center of TARDIS. Then this is one where, for the letter grade, I put 4 question marks.
I can see why.
Yeah, this is the Crimson Horror.
Yeah.
I had so much fun. I had so much fun watching the Crimson Horror. I look forward to watching the Crimson Horror again, but it is not a good episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
It is, it is so bad it's good. That's how we defined it at the time. That's what it remains.
Yeah.
Baby suckling on Dame Diana Riggs' teat.
Yeah,
baby alien.
Parasite monster. Yeah. This is you're not even entirely sure why or how it's there because the explanation for the Crimson Horror stuff did not imply there being a parasitic life form that caused it up till now.
I mean, at the very least, we have to give Mark Gatiss props. He is known for writing incredibly dull episodes of Doctor Who, Cold War. The last word you could use to describe Crimson Horror is dull.
Yeah,
that is
although a large part of that probably goes to the acting being by everyone other than the Doctor and the main characters being so over the top and ridiculous.
And it's just the sets are crazy. I mean, it is Mark Gatiss was high when he wrote the Crimson Horror. It is a fucking batshit crazy episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah, it is.
But then it followed up with Nightmare in Silver.
Yeah,
best episode of the season.
Yeah.
No question. That's an A, just a flat out A. I didn't do any pluses here, but that's what an A Doctor Who episode is.
Yeah, I agree.
Really good, no major flaws to speak of. It's just a damn good episode, and it's got some great characters.
Yeah, some fucking just classic Doctor Who dialogue.
Yep, and Warwick Davis. Damn it.
Yeah, and Warwick Davis.
So that was good. And Name of the Doctor, I personally feel it's an A minus. You probably feel it's like a B.
Yeah, I'd probably say B. Yeah.
Okay, but I put it on the good side. Would you put it on the good side?
Yeah, it's a good episode. It has
all right.
problems for me, but yeah.
Yeah. So overall on that, I believe if my counting is right, that's to me 8 good to great episodes to 6 disappointing to severely mediocre or downright bad episodes. So not the worst batting average in the world, but not the best.
But even then, that does not. I don't know, just saying good or bad, because like I was saying before, one of the major things was that, other than I think Hyde and Nightmare and Silver, and I guess and Bells of St. John, those 3 episodes, every other episode was really inconsistent internally, and it's for some of them the good may outweigh the bad, but it's sort of it was very hard for a lot of them to just be oh, this is just a good episode, or this is just a bad episode. It's more those scenes the moments were pretty good. But then they hit a reset button at the end of it. It was the main plot was kind of interesting, but the subplot was was it even there?
Yeah, and so it's you can't do that, but I think it's valuable to at least look at that as it helps a little bit to have that there. So overall, I guess what would you say about this season? How would you sum it up qualitatively?
I said it before, and I will say it again. This was a weird fucking season of television.
Yes.
That is it. That's all I can say about it. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it was fucking weird. Hopefully, it'll be different next time.
I don't think it's a bad season of Doctor Who. I don't want to say that because
I guess,
but I don't.
I would say it is a bad season in the sense that, especially compared to most seasons of Doctor Who, this one feels overwhelmingly inconsistent to me in a way that's I don't feel excited about watching this season as a season at all. It's more I kind of want to watch some of the episodes again, but most of the other seasons of Doctor Who, even ones like Season 2 that I think is, on the whole, not great, I still like watching it as a season in general. I feel there's a consistent level of quality and a nice feel throughout the season that I appreciate, whereas this one is just it is all over the place to me, and that kind of makes it a bad season.
Yeah, and I can see where you're coming from. I disagree. I just don't know if I can call it a good season. I think it's a mediocre season, and I think...
Yeah, you definitely compromise. It's a mediocre season.
Yes. And overall, I did a rough ranking of the revived Doctor Who seasons, just to contextualize it. I think, and I know you agree with me, that Series 5, Stephen Moffat's first season, is the best of the
it's the best season, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just kind of perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I put Series 6 at number 2. It ends weak, but overall...
Put it at number 2.
Okay, what would you put at number 2?
Probably 4.
Okay.
I really like 4, especially if you include the specials. I don't know how we would say that. If you definitely include the specials, then it's definitely number 4.
Okay, and I can agree with that. I in my personal ranking, I go 5, 6, and then I actually go Christopher Eccleston's season 1.
Yeah, I would go 5, then 4, then 1, then 6, probably.
Okay, so I go 5, 6, 1, 4. Then I have a really tough split between this season 7 and 3. And Series 3 is the one with Martha Jones. It's got higher highs, definitely, because it's got Blink and it's got Human Nature / Family of Blood. And those are 3 of the best episodes Doctor Who has ever produced. But it's also got much lower lows to me. That Dalek 2-parter is nothing but bad, and it is 2 fucking episodes of it.
The last 2 episodes with John Sims Master
are rough.
Yeah,
it's
really
got
bad.
And it's got a lot of rough ones in the middle, like the Lazarus Experiment and 42, which are just... They're just kind of...
I like 42 okay. I don't think it's a...
42 was one I kind of
episode,
aggressively disliked at the time, and I don't know if I would go back. 42 just felt like something they had already done 5 times in recent Doctor Who. Because they did something very similar in Series 2, and it's just Doctor on a spaceship trying to stop the spaceship from exploding. I don't ever need to see that again. Yeah. But anyway, so that's a tough split for me. Gun to my head, Series 3 probably goes above just because those highs are so high.
I would say it goes above, yeah. I really love me some Human Nature / Family of Blood, so it goes above for me. And,
at the very least, it does have a consistent arc. The ending is not great, but...
Yeah.
The ending is pretty wretched, but,
But, that brief, moment where Derek Jacobi was the Master, and you're like, this is going to be fucking cool. Like, even though they don't follow through up on that because John Sims Master is not...
Interesting?
Yeah, it's not a good interpretation of that character. Like, I like thinking about the Derek Jacobi Master. Like, just having that, it's like, okay.
And I unequivocally put Series 2 at the bottom, because while it has the girl in the fireplace, which is one of my favorite Doctor Who episodes, other than that, there's no episode that season I love. I think they're all pretty mediocre, and there's a lot of just bad. I mean, there's got like the Idiot's Lantern, the one where everyone's
I was just thinking. I was trying to remember it was Lantern something.
Yeah, it's got the Devil Pit 2-parter, which is oppressively boring.
Isn't that the one with the weird the episode with like the girl in the drawings?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's really mediocre.
And more than anything else, that season's got it. And then more than anything else, that season just took Rose, who was a pretty good companion in Series 1, and fucking ruined her.
Yeah.
Like, they did terrible stuff with her, and
weird stuff with the Doctor and his relationship with her. Like, it's like that aspect of the season was so strange and too.
Yeah, that to me is the roughest season. So Series 7, this was probably the second weakest overall, but we had in between there a really solid run of Doctor Who. There was going to be a little bit of a fall sometime, and half of the reason for the fall this year was dumb scheduling. So who the hell knows? Doctor Who Series 7, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, there it is. Hopefully, come back on my birthday for the 50th. Like, that was such a weird thing with it being like November 23rd, because that's my birthday, and that's when it's airing, because that's the show aired on November 23rd, 1963. Like, seeing that and just having that, like, a mini connection of, like, when you see your, like, birthday spelled out in dates, it's like, that's my fucking birthday. That's really, like, a weird feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now your birthday has been on Doctor Who.
Yeah, exactly. So happy birthday to me, I guess.
I hope it's a good birthday present.
Hopefully it's the Valley Yard. That would be a great birthday present if they're like, fuck it, it's the Valley Yard. We're doing it.
I just hope the 50th anniversary special is good. A lot of the signs are pointing to yes.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be bad. I just don't. I'm more curious to see like how they're going to handle this like weird new Doctor character, and I'm just really hoping that the explanation for him is not really dumb, because like the episode could be really good, but if like the explanation of like how they're treating that is dumb, and it very well could be, that's going to be really disappointing. Like hopefully they have a solid story built up around that. So, but at the very least, we'll get Matt Smith and David Tennant. 10 and 11 together.
There was that behind-the-scenes feature that aired after Name of the Doctor in Britain. Did you see it yet?
Yeah, like that, like
just a little interview.
Yeah,
that was
just
fun.
Well, it was kind of funny because like how that came about was those DVDs got leaked
sad,
to America, and so Stephen Moffat said, because there's like 200 some DVDs that like don't leak the last episode online, and if nobody does it, then we'll make this video. And I was like, that's kind of cool. It was pretty amazing that nobody apparently leaked the finale, so he put that up. But I thought it was kind of lame that the video was like 1 minute and 27 seconds. I was kind of hoping this because it was such a obviously super heavily edited interview. That's like, why couldn't you have given us like a good, solid, just sit Matt Smith and David Tennant down and just have like a 10-minute just like discussion between the two of them about Doctor Who? But I'm sure we'll get that on the DVD for the special when it comes out of the Blu-ray. But it would have been cool if like that was like what we got was like this really solid, lengthy, like in-depth interview with them. But
I agree, but just that little snippet was enough to make me really excited for the special, because we'll get to have those two interacting, and that should be fun. And look at Rose.
Oh yeah, fuck. I guess we will. Hope Rose hasn't been on since like Stephen Moffat took over, so maybe he will find something interesting to do with her.
She is also the Impossible Girl. Turns out she has. I'm just kidding.
All the companions are the Impossible Girl.
Yes. In any case, so we will be back on Sean's birthday to talk about Doctor Who again.
Yeah.
Not the podcast isn't going away.
Yeah,
I phrased that poorly.
But, I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're canceling this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but we will be talking about new Doctor Who when it comes back, assuming this podcast is still around and we haven't been canceled.
Hopefully that will not happen.
Yes. Hopefully we got this covered. It doesn't implode on itself. We'll see. We'll just start.
Hopefully they've got that covered.
We'll just start a new podcast if that happens. It'll be fine. We've done it before.
Yeah. We are experienced at making new podcasts. So
yeah, we'll just call the next podcast. It'll just be like super meta.
Okay.
No, just kidding. But anyway, yeah. So
there's probably a podcast just called Podcast, and it's probably a terrible fucking podcast.
I'm sure it is. It's probably a hipster podcast.
Yeah.
They do it out of Starbucks in Portland.
Or it's a podcast where they just talk about other podcasts and like review podcasts on their podcast.
Podcast.
Yeah, and at the end of every single podcast, they review their own episode of the podcast that they just did.
All right, so anyway, but before Doctor Who comes back, I think we've been talking about this, and this would be fun to do over the summer and into the fall and stuff. It's fun talking about Doctor Who on the podcast, isn't it, Sean?
It is.
And it's fun having a consistent segment to do. Mm-hmm. So we will not do this every week, but I think every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, we'll take an old classic serial of Doctor Who, and we'll limit it to that.
Yeah.
Just the first 7 Doctors. And we will talk about them. We'll definitely start with An Unearthly Child because it is the 50th anniversary. Yeah. We should go back to the beginning and talk about that. So, and hopefully that will encourage listeners. We will definitely let you know well in advance which serial we'll be talking about, so you can go find it. They're pretty easy to get at this point, and just watch it and hopefully encourage everyone to see it, and then we can talk about it on the show. And whenever we do that, there will be another topic on the episode for those who don't like Doctor Who.
Yeah,
but. This will be fun to do. Sean's seen all of them before, so he can be a good guide through this. Mm-hmm. And we'll watch ones that I have not seen before to have that dynamic there.
Yeah.
So that should be fun. So yes, let's say in 2 weeks we'll talk about An Unearthly Child. We'll let you know next week if that's still the plan. But
all right.
Yeah, caveman politics, damn it.
Oh, so you want to do An Unearthly Child and 10,000 BC, because those are technically two different things.
I did not know that, but yes, whatever the first Doctor Who serial is.
Before, but it's like the first episode is An Unearthly Child, and then there's a preceding serial that is 10,000 BC. That's
Should we do all of it?
Sure, I guess. I think, yeah, sure, let's do all of it.
Okay. All right.
5 episodes of Classic Who. We'll see if you can survive the pacing.
Yes. Well, I saw the Daleks episode where an entire episode is spent of them trying to get over a chasm.
That is true. That is true. That is, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we'll talk about more Doctor Who in the future, and we'll let you know. Stay tuned. Tomorrow we will put out our episode talking about Star Trek Into Darkness, y'all.
Trek Into Darkness.
Yes. All right. So we'll talk about that later. See you guys later. This was Doctor Who Series 7. What the fuck?
Doctor Who.